Rowan. I have hated my mother for most of my life, but it is her face I see as I drown. The face I see when I wake from drowning is different. It is rough and wind-bitten and scratchy. It is what I'm looking at when the sudden arrival of pain overcomes me, and I know the image of him will forever be as one with this pain. Whenever I see this face, I will remember the burning sting of being dragged upon rocks and flayed open. Left raw, I will feel the bursting pressure in my chest. The sensation will be so vivid, it will be like it's happening all over again. His face, a return, a drowning. Fen. She washes in with the storm, draped upon a tangle of driftwood. The girl sees her from among the seals. She picks her way through their fat, sleeping bodies and moves to the surging waterline. Rough waves carry the lump closer, in with the tide. A shape of milky white lit by the moon. A shoulder, she thinks. And seaweed for hair. A hand draped delicately over wood. The girl wades into the black roar. She dives under and swims out. Reaches for this bulbous thing to help steer it free. When her feet hit sand, she rises, dragging the driftwood behind her. Swell slaps at her thighs and hips, but she knows how to move with the water so as not to be tumbled, preparing all the while for something terrible, something altering. But a last wave sends the tangle onto the beach, and the girl parts the curtain of snarled kelp to reveal a face, and it is not swollen or blue or nibbled, it is breathing. The girl's name is Fen, and she lives here now, on this exposed patch of coastline with the petrels and the shearwaters and the penguins and the seals. She hasn't been up the hill in a while, to where her family dwells in the lighthouse. She doesn't like to leave the sea. But tonight, the storm, the woman. Lightning on the horizon and rain she can hear approaching fast. She thinks quickly, and then, rather than trying to pull the body free, she drags the entire driftwood barge up the black sand as far as she can. She allows herself another look at this face, at this creature carried in from a sea too vast to make sense of. A gift for them or something rejected. And then Fen runs. This is a place of storms, but this storm, this one, will be the worst they've endured since coming here. She knows it as soon as she reaches the crest of the hill and collides with the wind. It takes her off her feet. In the distance she can see the lights of the building. A white shape flies end over end through the air, a bedsheet from the clothesline. They all know not to hang things overnight. Someone will be in trouble for that lost sheet. Behind it, one of the tool trolleys careens through the grass, is lifted up off its wheels and dumped again, spilling its guts. And these precious items being left out, is even worse than the sheet. In the end, she doesn't have to struggle all the way to the house. Her dad's been watching, and the second he sees her cresting the rise, he is running. They meet in the dark, on the trail to the shore. Even his considerable size is nothing against this wind, and he stooped almost double as he gathers her toward home. "Stop!" she shouts. "Dad, we need Raph." "I'm here," says her brother, materializing to take her other side in arms almost as big as their father's, both of them hurrying her on. "Wait," Fen says, knowing that time now will be divided into before and after. "There's a woman." "Dominic, you are not meant to have favorites, but my youngest is that, if only by a hair, and with a gun to my head. If I really, really had to answer, and not because we are most alike, that is my oldest and me. Not because we are least alike, that is my daughter and me. Maybe it is because he is curious and kind, and so smart it can make your eyes water. Maybe it's because he whispers to the wind and hears its voice in return. Most likely I don't know why. But it may also be because, for one brief moment long ago, I wished him dead. I leave my youngest safe and warm in bed. He is too little to be taken out into a storm, though he'd rather not be left behind. The rain has come, as I follow my two eldest to the beach. The seals have retreated below the waves. The penguins are huddled in their nests. Raph and I lift the woman between us and inch our way back up the long winding trail. No trees to give cover. There are none on the island, only mounds of silvery tussock grass, and a passage that grows slower with each step into the wind. It screams in our ears. In this kind of storm, there is a danger we could be tumbled off our feet and back down the hill. "Keep going, mate," I say, and ahead of me Raph does, dogged. My daughter is saying the woman was breathing. That somehow she was breathing, And I know Fen is silently urging her to keep on. She is willing this body to cling to life. I have less hope, but I also suspect that to have made it so far, to have survived in an ocean so wild, she must be strong, this woman. I've seen a body taken by the sea, and the state of it will rid a man of any hubris. We are soberingly weak under its hammer. This woman, delivered by such a sea, one more powerful than most, is clinging on with a bewildering defiance. She has been opened on one side, all down the left of her, and I can't imagine how there's not water on her lungs. But my first concern is the hypothermia. Her breathing and her heart rate both seem very slow. Back at the house, my 3 children and I carefully remove the woman's clothes, what's left of them. I set Orly to the shoes and socks and allow Raph and Fen to help me with the rest, leaving only the undies untouched. Fen takes her own clothes off too. You don't have to, I say, and without a word she climbs into the bed to press her warmth around this stranger. The only way, truly, to warm her up. My boys and I pile blankets over them and monitor the woman's temperature. It rises slowly. Hours pass as we hover, watching and waiting, and I wonder what it is my daughter thinks about as she uses her body like this to save another. Later, when the woman seems warm enough and I don't think we can delay it any longer, Fen gets dressed. There is blood on the sheets and on her skin. She pretends not to notice. We turn our minds to treating the wounds, using tweezers to painstakingly pluck out fragments of cloth. The woman's limbs are lean and strong, her head shaved. The face, which I have barely looked at, is clenched and angular. Her strong jaw works against her teeth. Once she is free of material and debris, I stitch the worst of the wounds, my fingers too big to be anything other than clumsy. We slather the scrapes with disinfectant, and then as much gauze as we have before bandaging her body. There is fever now. She is scalding to the touch. She makes sounds that frighten all of us, and I come to my senses and send my 9-year-old from the room. He makes a fuss. He wants to help, and I know he is more frightened of the storm than he is of this woman's noises. I relent, let him stay. This feels like a night to be together. We sit with her and bear witness to the throes. Outside the storm is rabid. When the windows shake, Orly whimpers but the old stones hold together. Inside the sea is still fighting for her. It retains its hold. I think, deep in the darkest hours, that even if she survives this night, that ocean will have her back one day. Dominic, I brought my children to Shearwater Island 8 years ago. I was not expecting the island to feel so haunted, but for hundreds of years, the lighthouse we live in was a beacon to men who built their lives upon the blood of the world's creatures. The refuse of those sealers and whalers remains to this day, discarded along the lonely stretches of black coast and in the silver shimmering hills. The first time Orly admitted he could hear the voices, all the whispers of the animals killed on this ground, including, for good measure, an entire species of seal bashed on the head and wiped out entirely. I thought seriously about taking my children away from here, but it was my ghost who told me they might be a gift, these voices. A way to remember, that surely someone ought to remember. I don't know if that burden should fall to a child, but here we are, we have stayed, and I think that actually my wife was right. I think the beasts bring my boy comfort. Mostly it is quiet here, a life of simple tasks, of day-to-day routines, of grass and hills and sea and sky. A life of wind and rain and fog and of smiles huddled around a heater and of books read each evening. Of hands clasping a hot cup of chocolate, or the bend of a head against the weather, of wet clothes flung off at the door, and trying to pick out the difference between a giant petrel and an albatross at distance. Of frozen food, and sometimes downloaded movies and schoolwork and training and music. Of the gurgling roar of an elephant seal or the banana pose of a fir. Of the flamboyant orange eyebrows of the last royal penguin colony in the world. Of seeds. Of parenting. Of grappling constantly with what to tell them about the world we left behind. Ships come every so often to bring supplies and scientists. Despite its wonders, Shearwater is not a tourist island. It's too remote, too difficult to reach. Mostly no one comes here but a handful of researchers studying the wildlife, the weather, the tides. Certainly people don't wash in from the sea. I am having trouble making sense of how she's alive. The ocean around us is perilous and so cold, and there is no land for many thousands of kilometers. She must have come off a boat, but it doesn't make sense that there should be a boat close enough to our shores. The supply ship isn't due for weeks, and the only ships that pass by are way out at sea, following the passage south to Antarctica, and to come off one of those would mean certain death. Unless, of course, this boat of hers was coming here, to Shearwater. In the morning, Raph and I assess the damage. Gutters are down, and water has come under the doors, but our lighthouse has held strong, even in the face of such a battering. The power sources can't say the same. My son and I walk up the hill to see that both wind turbines have come clean off their shafts. One of them is face down hundreds of meters away. It has flown, while the other is protruding up out of the ground in a salute to its own demise. The solar cells are scratched and the roof of the shed has been lifted up and off, leaving the batteries within to take an absolute beating. I'll need to replace that roof, but for now, we set up a tarp to try to protect the remaining batteries, too complex to move and rewire all the cabling. Half of them are dead anyway. The other half have some power stored in them, and this will have to stretch a long way. Surviving in remote places is all about setting up contingencies. If one thing goes, there's another option to take its place. It's never occurred to me that all the solar cells, half the batteries, and both the wind turbines could go at the same time. We've still got the diesel, Raph says as we walk home. I can't hear any fear in him, just a focused kind of concern. One thing we can't do without is heating. I don't know if we'd survive the kind of cold it will be without heating. Normally we'd be straight on the radio to the mainland, calling for help. Repairmen, new parts, more gas, more diesel. Alas, Raph and I walk home along the headland. There is no real reason to do this, but I am letting him guide the way, and his feet often lead him here. Shearwater is long and skinny and divided into two parts, its northern side mountainous and mostly unexplored, its southern side smaller, more inviting. This is where the various buildings have been placed, including our lighthouse, the field huts, the communication station, and the seed vault. There is a finger of land that joins the two sides, an isthmus, narrow in shape and low in altitude. We call it the Pinch, and it's where the research base sits. The base is several long white shipping containers made of aluminum so as not to rust in the salty air, as well as several wooden cabins. A hodgepodge of 17 little buildings built over many decades. A dining hall and kitchen. The labs. A hospital, the storage unit. Sleeping quarters. Until recently a buzzing community of people, the Pinch now holds a collection of empty buildings. And just as well because there is water lapping at walls and doors. The research base looks like it's floating on a pond. Bloody hell, Raph says. High tide has never been this high before. I am shaken, but I'm not about to let him know that. We still have some gas for cooking and manually heating water, and diesel for the generator to keep the freezer running so our remaining food stores don't spoil. But everything else is getting turned off. No more lights, no computers or phone chargers or stereo, no washing machine or vacuum cleaner, no power tools. The kids don't complain when I tell them. Keeping this place running is a never-ending exercise in problem solving, and they understand that. What I am concerned about is the power to the seed vault down at South Beach, and whether it's gone too. I get Raph started on repairing the damaged gutters and pack myself an overnight bag. It's a 10-kilometer hike south to the vault, so I'll stay the night in one of the field research huts down there. First I look in on the woman. Orly is perched on the end of her bed, reading to her from a book on botanicals that his astounding mind has no doubt memorized. He has barely left her side since she arrived. How's she doing? I sink into the chair by the window. He shrugs. Seems okay. She's breathing. You don't have to stay in here. I know. He fiddles with the corner of a page, dog-earing it, and then smoothing it out. Just seems like someone should be here when she wakes up. I consider how much to tell him about my fears for the vault. In the end, I just say, I'm headed south for the night. Can I come? Not on this one, mate. The woman mutters something under her breath. And even though she is not dead, there is something unnatural about it. A corpse reanimated. Her hand, the long fingers of it, clench once into a fist, then relax. Don't get too tied up in it, I tell Orly. In what? In her surviving. She might not. Do you understand? Yeah. He studies her face, I study his. It's just, why isn't she waking up? I don't know, mate. She swam a long way. She might still be swimming. The Shearwater Global Seed Vault was built to withstand anything the world could throw at it. It was meant to outlast humanity, to live on into the future, in the event that people should one day need to regrow from scratch the food supply that sustains us. Specks, most of them. Tiny little black dots. That's all they are. These treasures we keep buried in boxes below ground, down here in the arse end of the world. The last hope of their kinds, but also of our kind. The idea is a big one, to save humankind. But in all honesty, that's not why we came here. I needed a job, and I needed it to be far away. The purpose of it came later. In truth, it came when my youngest recognized its magnitude. While the Seed Vault is owned by the United Nations, the management of it has been allocated to the Tasmanian Parks and Wildlife Service, which also manages the nature reserve on the island, as well as the research station, Shearwater Island, belonging to Australia by virtue of its location. I was hired as caretaker of every building on this island, including the enormous frozen vault at its far south, and so in the beginning, when we first arrived, I was making the trip across island often. Because he was so little, I had no option but to take Orly with me, and I resented these regular hikes, when I could have been attending to the maintenance of the research base or the lighthouse. But as Orly got older, he would explore as we walked, touching and smelling and picking, and as he learned to talk, he spoke the names of the plants we saw, and then the seeds we were there to visit, and I began to see, through his eyes, that in fact this job was important. I started imagining the use of these seeds. I imagined the world that would require them. I felt better about being here, on the island that was protecting this last floundering hope, rather than back on a mainland that would need rescuing. And with every danger that came upon Shearwater, every struggle I would think, at least we're not back there, dealing with fires and floods and food scarcity and all the rest of it, at least we are here, in a place that seems hostile, until you look more closely, until you begin to see its beauty and its tenderness, until you see the hidden abundance of it. I never loved a place before we came here, and now it's over. The seed vault is closing. It was meant to last forever. And now we are sorting and packing the seeds for transport, and in just under 2 months we too will be leaving, with all the lucky little specks important enough to be chosen for relocation. The tunnel is dry always. It must be. It's part of the design. Except that today, when I step into the mouth of the long descent, my boots splash. I stop and peer into the darkness. The wrongness of it stands the hairs on my arms. The impossibility of it. I splash down into the earth, to the underground chamber, to its vacuum-sealed door. Like the door of a fridge. If the water has gone beneath it, we will be in real trouble. But it hasn't, and I remember to breathe. Just the tunnel then, that's all right. It will be all right. Within the vault it's still dry. But as I check the temperature gauge, my fears are confirmed. The lights are working, but the cooling system has shorted out. It's already a degree warmer than it should be in here. It has been made very clear to us that keeping the seeds safe is more important than keeping ourselves safe. Quietly, down in the corners of me, I consider whether I could let thousands of species go extinct in order to save the lives of my 3 children. If I were to reroute the energy we use for heating the lighthouse, I might buy the seeds a little extra time. But the answer is easy, and I don't think they should have sent a man out here who has kids. That man would never make the choice they want him to. I set up a pump in the tunnel, uncoiling the long dark tube until it snakes out the opening into daylight. If the water level reaches a certain height, the pump will turn on automatically. Next, I walk each of the 30 aisles of the vault. They are dry, so I don't hang around. Despite it all, despite the importance of this place and these specks, I don't enjoy being down here. I'm not sure why, really. It's a mystery even to myself. Something, maybe, about the pre-lifeness of it, which in a way is death, though Orly would tell me I'm mad, that this place is the opposite of death. Maybe it's the stasis of it then, the way that life is being kept dormant. Maybe it has nothing to do with the seeds at all and is simply the underground of it, or the deep, deep cold. Whatever the reason, the place unnerves me. So I let my boots splash their way back up to the surface. I climb to the crest of the hill, where the shrubs give way to the long tussock grass, and I turn and look out at the horizon. It is like gazing off the edge of the world. Way down there sits Antarctica, but mostly what lies before me is a boundless ocean, and this edge is sharp, If I take one step in the wrong direction, I will fall, and I am never, for a single moment, able to forget it. The field huts sit among mossy hills on the shoreline, accessible only via a crooked set of metal steps built into the rocks. It takes me the rest of the day to reach them. I will sleep here tonight. We don't travel after dark, and usually we don't travel at all unless in pairs. I am breaking a rule, but I can't bring my children to see what's waiting. The huts are pods, delivered here fully furnished on the back of a freight ship many years ago. The blue hut, so named because of its blue door, is closest, while the red hut is a little farther along and closer to the water. Once there were 4 scientists living within them. Now the huts sit empty. Once there was a third, its door green. The blue hut is the last place I want to set foot inside. The unconscious woman isn't going anywhere fast, but if she wakes, she could eventually find her way down here, which means I can't put this off any longer. I push inside. It takes my eyes a moment to adjust to the dark. The smell is a shuddering kind of bad. There are 2 single bedrooms, and I move past them to the kitchen. It's not as grim as I remember it, but it is pretty grim. In the backpack, I've brought a scrubbing brush, cloths and towels, and bleach. I get to my hands and knees and start cleaning up the blood. Fen. It's about calm. She has learned this over years spent in the water, and it's something she's good at, a skill she has cultivated. It started because she didn't want to leave the seals beneath the surface. She wanted her body to be capable of more, to be like theirs, so she worked at it. She learned about making her exhales longer than her inhales to decrease her heart rate. She learned about reducing her oxygen consumption. She learned about enduring the pressure that turns to pain. She understands that there is nothing to fear from pain. She is very good at calm. Except, of course, where her dad is concerned. He is stubborn and strict and unbendable. He refuses to talk about anything. He frustrates her. And maybe that's normal for a 17-year-old. But Fen's willing to bet most 17-year-olds don't have to deal with their dads talking to their dead mothers and refusing to admit there's a problem with that. Fen loves her dad. And she loves Shearwater. Maybe more than any of them do, but she can see that little by little the island is killing them. She doesn't sleep much. It's hard to sleep without walls or curtains over windows, and there aren't many hours of true darkness on Shearwater at this time of year. She rises and swims with the males and the females who aren't soon to give birth. She stretches her lungs and her muscles. She kicks and arches and follows the paths of their flippers as they move with so much more power and grace than she will ever have. King Brown, as Alex named him, is a showy loop and finishes by brushing his whiskers against her cheek, as if to say, "Beat that," and she laughs beneath the surface. Silver, a young female, circles her once, twice, then trails her hind flippers through Fen's hair, daring her. She kicks after the sleek pale seal, trying her best to keep up. They want to race her, but she will never win. She is all too human and has to break for the surface. Silver's face pops up beside her, and Fen can almost imagine a grin. There, it's in her eyes, the amusement, the triumph. "You win then," Fen says, "for the millionth time." She means to go and check on the woman in the lighthouse. She can't stop thinking of her, of this body washed in that is somehow still alive. But on the beach, she can hear a kerfuffle, and she knows what it means. She swims to shore and picks her way among the colony, trying to find the female who is first. She's in one of the larger harems. This is King Brown's group, so there are lots of females clustered around. It's Freckles, Fen sees, named for the smattering of dark spots on her face. She is flapping and moving awkwardly, tilting her head back and forth, and a couple of other females keep trying to duck their faces to her bottom, to where there is a dark little shape emerging. Fen stays back, giving them space, but she will be ready in case she needs to help. When she sees the placenta break and the head push out, she is worried because the pups are usually born flippers first. This baby's eyes and mouth are shut and it doesn't look to be breathing. But Freckles flaps and moves. She pushes. She turns her head back and reaches her snout down to the motionless pup, licking its face. She turns in circles to try to work it free. She pushes and pushes. Fen grows more worried by the second. The pup is showing no signs of life and the birth is taking too long. She isn't sure if she should try to help, but something makes her wait. And soon, the dark little body comes free, it tumbles onto the sand, and it moves, it lifts its head. Smiling, Fen watches the mother seal nuzzle and lick this wet, furry creature. The other babies will come now. All the females will start to give birth. and the beach will be covered in bleeding seal pups. It is Fen's favorite time of year. It's what she will miss most when they leave. She has always come down to the beach for pup season, even before this inhospitable stretch of coast became her home, her escape. Even before she learned that there is a different kind of fear from the one you feel when you hold your breath. The air of Shearwater is thick with the spirits of the dead. Fen knows this and isn't bothered by it. Raph doesn't believe her, but in the hours of true night she has seen them. The specters, flickering green lights out at sea or in the mountains above her, and even once quite close on the beach. She wonders if this means she is marked for a different kind of life. If it is yet another oddity that will ensure she doesn't fit in back on the mainland. But she isn't frightened of the dead. It is only the living who have the power to harm. Orly, let's start with the greatest traveler among them, shall we? In Aisle E, row 34, sits the Taraxacum officinale, otherwise known as the common dandelion. The dandelion is found all over the world, in pretty much any habitat. It's a survivor. It can grow in lawns or fields, in rocky hillsides or woodlands. It might be the first to sprout up in a new ecosystem, or the longest standing in an old one. The story of this particular dandelion is a good one. You will want to pay attention. It starts its life in an apple orchard, in North America, let's say Wisconsin. It nearly gets trodden on so many times, but luck is on its side. Because it bursts to life early in spring, much earlier than most flowers, it's an important source of food to a whole bunch of insects and birds. Its pollen is rubbed onto the underside of a leaf-cutting bee, then carried to a female dandelion. The bee goes on to pollinate lots of other wild plants and flowers in his travels, but let's stay with the dandelion for now. Its nectar is feasted on by the earliest butterflies and moths to emerge from their cocoons. Today, this nectar also happens to feed a hummingbird and a woodpecker. As it ages, the dandelion's head turns from its bright yellow petals to become a seed head, or, as I like to call it, a blowball. The blowballs have a whole lot of single seeds with tiny hairs on top. These seeds fly in a way we humans had never seen before we saw the dandelion fly. On a balmy afternoon, the seeds of the blowball are lifted by a gust of wind. Some of them land not too far away and are gobbled up by sparrows and goldfinches. Some travel a different way to be eaten by a quail, a wild turkey, and a grouse. One is eaten by a field mouse, one by a chipmunk. But there's one seed that strikes out farther than the rest. It really flies across state lines into Minnesota, floating and dancing. It travels 100 kilometers. 100! That is a mind-boggling distance for a tiny seed carried only by wind. Can you imagine? The farthest a seed has ever traveled by air. But it's not finished. What is left of this dandelion? It has more to do. When it lands in Minnesota, it's right in the path of a hungry white-tailed deer. The seed of the dandelion feeds the deer until it walks into the path of another creature, a gray wolf. She's been looking for food for a long time. She devours the deer, taking enough meat to survive for weeks and sharing the rest of it with her mate and pups. It keeps her going a little longer in a difficult, hungry life. The wolves keep hunting together, keep the deer on the move, and allow the plants and trees of this land to grow. They keep rivers and soil healthy. They attract insects and mammals and birds to the ecosystem. They make it healthy enough for more dandelions to seed and sprout and start the whole cycle again. But the dandelion, this single flower that has given nourishment to countless other living creatures, is considered a weed. Rowan, I think, in this darkness, that I have seen a man's face. The sense of him lingers inside the crashing seas of my body, so that it begins to feel like he's the one pummeling at my edges. At some point, it could be seconds or 1,000,000 years later, the pain changes. No longer an ocean, but a sting. The sting becomes a flame, becomes a fire. I know this fire. I thought I had escaped it. But here is the strangest part. The fire is not alone. There is something else here, something battling it, trying to hold it back. A voice. Let's start with the greatest traveler among them, shall we? Curious. It is light and high, and from within these flames I cling to it. It's not finished, what's left of this dandelion. It has more to do. There are sounds in the room, and I realize they are from me. I am weeping in pain. Something touches me, I'm not sure where. I drag my eyelids open, and I'm shocked at the brightness. I blink and blink until I can see. A small hand has taken mine, is holding mine, and perhaps I have died after all. The voice, that sweet little voice, is saying, "I'm here, I won't leave you," and I start crying for a different reason. He seems to be here on his own. I come to this conclusion only when I have enough brain power to come to conclusions, and this is only after he's given me painkillers. He is small. I'm not good with children's ages, but he is a child, and he is striking in the light spilling through the window. Pale blue eyes and almost white hair. Perhaps he is Nordic. He has the look of a Viking in miniature. There are even slender plaits in his long straight hair. And he has been speaking to me of seeds. It's how I know I am in the right place. "Is this the research base?" I ask him. "No, this is the lighthouse." I frown, trying to make sense of that. "Where are your parents?" "Dad's across island." "Why?" "The storm that brought you. It's taken most of our power. He's got to check things." "The storm that brought me." I am back in it. My body thrown up into the ceiling of the cabin, then slammed back to the floor. I can hear his shouts from the deck, faint among the roar. I'm not sure what he's trying to tell me. Is he saying to stay below? Or to get free? I have no intention of going down with this boat, so I surge up the last steps, and without even a chance to take a breath, I am lifted, carried, dumped into the sea. A tiny thing in the mouth of a beast. I will never forget the weakness of my body. This body I have always taken pleasure in making strong. I will never make sense of the powerlessness or how it is that I'm still here. Is there an adult I can talk to? I ask. No. I rub my aching eyes, trying to wrap my head around what's going on and why I seem to be alone in a lighthouse with a child. What's your name? The boy asks me. For a brief moment I can't recall it. What a thing. Rowan? I tell him. I'm Orley Salt. And you're on an island in the middle of the Southern Ocean, 1,500 kilometers from any other landmass. Closest is Antarctica. So my question for you is, how did you get here, Rowan? I look at him. We can have this chat when your dad gets back. He won't be back until tomorrow. Do you know if he radioed for help? I ask. Coast Guard? Orley shrugs. Can you get me something to drink? Anything strong and straight. I'm not allowed to touch the alcohol. I won't tell anyone. He considers me, then shrugs and jumps up. Guess these are mitigating circumstances, huh? Guess they are. I'll say you manipulated me, if Dad asks. You do that. He trots out. I take a look around the cramped and crooked room. Low ceilings with heavy wooden beams. Stone walls and floor. A thick wool rug. Wardrobe and bookcase both full to bursting. The window is small. The sky too glary for me to see anything, and after a glance I don't want to, it makes my head pound. The kid returns with vodka, and I get drunk. It helps with the pain, not with the memories. He's also brought me a Vegemite and cheese sandwich on bread that isn't entirely defrosted, and a cup of tea with long-life milk and about 16 sugars, by the taste of it. It's all very unpleasant. When I finished I lie still, so little energy in my body I can do nothing but watch the shadows move on the walls. Orley carries on chatting about seeds. It takes a long time for night to fall. I wish the minutes away. How long have I been in this bed? I ask the boy at some point. We found you last night. You've kind of been coming in and out of consciousness. You don't remember? I shake my head. Just a man's face in the dark. What's happened to me? There is flickering candlelight. And I need a break from the seeds. I need to understand what's going on under these bandages. I am afraid to look. Afraid not to. You mean? He gestures to my body. You had hypothermia, that was the main thing. It was crazy, you were hardly breathing. And you got scraped up pretty bad. There's a bunch of rocks offshore. The waves dragged you over them to the beach. You're lucky, though. If the drift current had got you, you'd be dead. No questions asked, dead. No questions asked, huh? The drift is merciless. Instead, you got Fen. What's Fen? He grins. My sister. She swam out and got you, pulled you to shore. She's the best swimmer you'll ever meet. Born for the water, Dad says. Was there? I stop. Best not to ask too many questions. If they'd found a boat, the boy would have told me. You should get some sleep, kid. Yeah, he agrees, and then he curls up at the foot of my bed like a dog and nods straight off. I stare at him in disbelief, and then I finish the vodka and roll over. The room is spinning. And I think getting drunk was a bad idea, because it feels like the rocking sea and the boat. It feels like his voice calling out to me only, I can't find him and I know he's gone now. The drift must have got him, and it was my desire, my arrogance, the stupidity of this quest that drowned him. His name is Yen. He is the only one brave enough or mad enough to take me, I'm told. Don't even bother asking anyone else. He used to be a whaler. He doesn't ask me questions about why I want to be taken to a mostly uninhabited island so far away. He just asks me how much money I have. And when I tell him, he nods once and says we will be fine if the weather holds. I ask him what will happen if it doesn't, and he says the sea will decide, which is an irritatingly sailor thing to say. He doesn't talk to me much on the 4-day journey, but I will remember his voice. I will remember the sound of it calling my name, and the way that name was swallowed by wind and waves. I wake in the deep night with an aching need to do a wee. I don't know how long it's been since I went, but as I've been lying here for a couple of days now, it's a fair assumption that some poor person has had to clean up after me. It hurts to sit upright. The pain feels both deep and also right at my surface. I don't make a sound, terrified of waking the boy and having to talk to him again. My head spins, and I'm not sure my wobbly legs will carry me. The house is dark. And odd. I flick light switches, but they don't work. The power's been shut off. The staircase has a wooden banister to cling to. The walls seem to be curved, and there are a lot of stairs. I don't have the time or the desire to poke my head through every door I pass, looking for a bathroom, so I go to the ground floor and stagger out what looks to be the front door. There are coats and boots beside it. I pull both of these on, and into the night, I gasp, blinded by the sky. The stars are electric and so dazzling I sink to the ground, unable to catch my breath. The cold is a blanket, wrapping around me and sinking within. And these pajamas aren't mine. They are too small, and even with a coat they are nothing against the bite of the air. I need to move, but I can't. It is too beautiful. When finally I get to my feet, I see the building behind me, the lighthouse without a light, and before me is a hillside of long silver grass swaying in the starlight. Bits of me are going numb, so I drop my pajama pants. But since there is no way my trembling thighs will lower me into a squat, all I can do is spread my legs wide and hope. What are you doing? I look over my shoulder. The kid is standing in the doorway watching me. What does it look like I'm doing? A wee? Bingo! Why are you doing it out here? To make sure I wouldn't be bothered. Oh. He stays. I finish my wee, then pull my undies, mine, thank God, and pants back on. The effort causes me to tilt sideways and then, almost slowly, I am back on the ground. Are you okay? The kid asks. I blink through my spotty vision and wait for my head to stop spinning. He pulls on his gumboots and coat and bounds out onto the grass. I don't have the energy to move again, and since I guess he doesn't know what else to do, he just sits down beside me. Together we gaze at the wind-swept hills before us. So this is Shearwater, huh? I say. Sure is. 120 kilometers squared. We're a tundra climate with mostly mosses and lichens, and over 45 vascular plant species. And we have over 80,000 seals on the island, as well as the last colony of royal penguins in the world, and over 3 million breeding seabirds. And we're a UNESCO World Heritage Site, because we're the only place in the world where the Earth's mantle is pushing up and being exposed. I can't help smiling. You get all that from Wikipedia? He shrugs. Which I guess means yes. Orly points toward the ocean. That's where Raph and Fen are, down on the beach. Before I can question what his brother and sister are doing on a beach in the middle of the night, he points what I assume is south. Down that way is the seed vault, where Dad is. What's the seed vault? I ask. already knowing the answer, but curious about what he'll say. It's where the world sends its seeds to be stored in case we ever need to rebuild a population of something. Why is it all the way down here? To protect it. The permafrost keeps the seeds cold and it's too far away for any people to reach. He looks at me. Seed banks aren't a new thing, you know. Okay. It's just that this is one of the last. And it has the largest collection of seeds from all over the world. A whole lot that don't exist anywhere else. Rare and endangered and even extinct in the wild. And it doesn't just have agricultural seeds either. It has everything. How old are you? 9. Is that old enough to know what's good for you? What do you mean? Should we go inside? It's pretty fucking cold. He giggles, possibly at the swearing. I'm used to it, but you're not. He starts for the door, but I don't yet follow him. I am trying to figure out how to return to my feet, how I could possibly climb those stairs again. Big mistake, coming down here. I should have just wet the bed. The boy, Orly, returns. He seems to understand, because he pulls one of my arms until I am more upright. Then he offers me his shoulder to push off. A sound leaves my mouth as I drag myself up his body and steady myself upon it. His feet stagger under my weight, but we both manage to remain standing. Together we do an awkward, drunken stumble back to the lighthouse. The mere sight of the stairs causes my insides to heave, and instead I swing sideways into a living room, collapse onto an old velvet couch. My skull is trying to crack open and the rocks are feeding on me. Orly drapes a blanket over me. I am dismayed to see him lie down on the floor at my side. Don't you have a bed? He nods. Closes his eyes. I try to close mine too, but I can feel him there, shivering. I thought you said you were used to it. I am. He can barely get the words out between the chattering of his teeth. Irritated, I hold the blanket open for him. Come on, hurry up. He wriggles up next to me. There is barely room, but we warm each other. I end up with my cheek pressed against his back, listening to the pat-pat of his heartbeat. That little beat feels immensely small and vulnerable under the expanse of that sky, and I think of the stone walls of this building and the empty rooms, and his dad off on the other side of an island. I think of him alone here, with only me, who is basically no one. The question forms inside me along with a warning not to ask it. Where's your mom, Orly? His voice, when it comes, is muffled beneath the blankets. She's dead, I sigh. Listen to the pat-pat. After a while, I say, mine too, and feel him drift off to sleep. Dominic. In the dark, she tells me not to open my eyes, that if I try to look, she will go. I already know this and am squeezing my lids shut so tight I'm getting a headache, but for her, anything. I'm here, she says, and it's like she is. I can feel her breath on my cheek, against my lips. I am not so far gone that I don't know it's a lie. Even as I hear her words, I hear my own telling me to stop this. For God's sake, stop it. But she is so soft, and in the end, I am a coward. I let my wife hold me, and I keep my eyes shut in the dark. Sunny moments here on Shearwater are brief. This morning the sky is pale gray, and there is a mist of rain on my face as I head out from the field hut. I carry on around the rocks at low tide, careful to keep my footing. Mostly this trip south was to establish the situation with the vault, and to deal with the mess in the field hut. But I've also been looking for a boat. There is only one place I did not pass on my way down here. A craggy bay, difficult to access on foot. I round the rocks of a curved headland and start descending the steep, crumbly cliffside until the angle opens up and reveals a dark pocket of water below. The fierce current we call the drift comes to rest here upon a bed of jagged rocks. And wedged within these teeth, its pieces smashed into new shapes, is the small craft that delivered a stranger to our shores. I know without any doubt that whoever else was on that boat is dead. My two eldest aren't up in the lighthouse, they're on the beach of the Pinch. I make my way toward them, skirting around lumpy elephant seal bodies. Most of them ignore me, but I get a couple of warning gurgles to watch where I walk, and one of them flicks sand over my boots. Raph is sitting on the fine, silt-like black sand saying something to Fen, who is standing before him, idly moving through leg stretches. They look at me as I approach. Both share their mother's blue eyes and blonde hair. All but twins, we used to say. Born 10 months apart, and my God, what delirium their infancy was. A miracle our marriage survived it. Is she awake? I ask. We haven't been up yet, Raph says, apologetic. The cows are birthing, Finn announces. I glance past them at the mass of fur seal bodies farther down the beach. They are certainly making more racket than they usually do. I don't like Orly up there alone with her, I say, looking at Raph. He stands and brushes himself off. Sorry. She was barely alive. Finn points out. I look at my daughter. Her nose and cheeks are covered in freckles and sun marks. I worry often she'll wind up with skin cancer. There is no shade anywhere on this island, no cover from any of the elements. For this reason, I suppose, we are lucky the sky is mostly gray, but the gales can be just as damaging. Finn has the wind bites to show for it. I study her, drink her in, think how beautiful she is and how much I miss her, knowing too that she is far too trusting. I need you both to keep your guards up, all right? We don't know her. We don't know anything about what she's doing here. Raph nods, but something slides across Finn's face, an expression of disappointment, even of pity, that this is an insane way to think of an injured woman in need of help. And maybe she's right. But what the look tells me more than anything is that my daughter no longer trusts me. If I worried she was slipping away before, now I'm sure of it. She doesn't feel safe with me. Or maybe it's that she has no expectation of me keeping her safe, of my ability to recognize danger, which is my only job as her father. I am filled with panic. I must keep hold of her, and I don't know how to. I need you up home with us, I say. The woman, when she wakes, will need help changing, washing, toileting. Best to have another female around for that. Finn peers at her seals, and I wait to see if she will argue with me. But she simply starts off toward the hill. Raph and I follow. As we walk, I take note of the beach and how it's changed under the rising tide. The ocean has taken great mouthfuls of the land. Many of the rocks are gone, washed away by the storm. This coastline looks nothing like it did when we arrived here 8 years ago. We are all acutely aware of this fact, but we don't much talk about what rapidly rising sea levels mean. They mean losing the rocks and the beaches, losing the research base and all its buildings, losing the boathouse and its zodiacs, losing a way to safely board a ship out of here. What rising sea levels mean is the loss of our home. Raph asks, "How was the vault?" "Power's down." His footsteps falter, and he stares at me. I shoot him a quick, grim look over my shoulder, but carry on. "How long can it stay cold without power?" Finn asks. I shake my head slowly. "Supposed to be at least several weeks. We don't say it how close that will come. The naval ship RSV Nuyina is due to collect us and the seeds in about 7 weeks. I found the boat," I tell them to change the subject. "It wrecked?" Raph asks. I nod. "Where?" "Finn is quick," she adds. "Did the drift take it?" Another nod. "Then we won't get to it," Raph says. "Probably not. But the people," Finn says. "The bodies," is what she means. "They'll have to wait until the ship comes." She looks horrified. "They'll be," shakes her head. "I can make it." That may well be true. She is a very strong swimmer, but she still wouldn't fare any better than the splintered boat. Besides which, I'm not about to let my 17-year-old daughter die for drowned bodies. "They should be buried, Dad," she says. "We can't just leave them out there." "We can. It's only their bodies." This quiets them. I see them both turning it over in their minds, pondering its meaning, its truth. I can see it makes sense to Raph, but it won't be enough for Finn, who grows more convinced by the day of the unquiet spirits on this island. In the end, they're still kids, though, and by the time we reach the bottom of the slope, the gloomy mood has already lifted off them, and they share a grin before bursting into a sprint. They rarely miss an opportunity to race each other to the top. I laugh, and Christ, their energy, their youth. I feel ancient. But something occurs to Raph and he pauses, losing his lead. "Dad, don't tell Orly about the vault, okay? He won't cope." I'd had the same thought, but murmur. "You ever manage to keep anything from that boy? You tell me your secret, Rowan." The baby in my belly is so hot it has begun to burn my whole body. I curl myself over it, holding my stomach and trying to soothe it through the walls of my skin. I breathe all the cold air I have, hoping to cool it. and see that it is no longer inside me, no longer a baby at all, but the blowball of a dandelion, and with one breath it erupts, it flies, it disintegrates. Rain falls hard on my face. Not rain, a shower. I am lying in a bathtub with a shower battering me, and the fever has returned. I am so hot. There is a person crouched beside the tub, but it isn't the boy. It is a girl, I think. She strokes my burning forehead and tells me the water will help cool me. I think I fall back to sleep because the next time I open my eyes, I am being lifted, naked, out of the tub, by warm, strong hands, at least 6 of them, and then my body is dried gently, tenderly, and it's just the girl again. She is carefully toweling me down, and then wrapping me once more in bandages. I still don't know what's beneath them. She helps me step into underwear and clothes, moving my limbs like they are a child's, guiding me through leg and armholes. My eyelids are so heavy it is difficult to keep them open. I ask her name as I lean on her. Fen, she says, the girl who swam out to save me. She helps me back to the bed and makes me swallow painkillers before she lets me sleep. Sometime later, I wake enough in the dark to listen to the voices. I can't see them, and I don't turn my head to look. Do you have enough layers? Take a few more blankets down. A man, voice deep and scratchy. I have enough. The girl, Fen. You don't sleep on the beach, all right. You sleep in the boathouse. I know, Dad. Easier if you just stay here the night. I hear a movement, and then Fen's voice telling him firmly, I'm going, Dad, I have to. There is a silence, and then the man says, You're safe here. I know, she says too quickly, and I hear her leave. I keep my eyes closed, aware there is a man in this room with me, one I can't see and don't know. I consider speaking to him. There are things I need to know, but I'm so tired. The next time I wake it is morning, and the fever has broken. I am sweaty, and need the bathroom again. It is less difficult to stand and walk this time, and when I reach the hallway there is a near collision with a small darting figure. You're up, Orly declares. Can you show me to the bathroom? No way, you're supposed to stay in bed. And how am I meant to go to the toilet? I didn't ask and I don't want to know, he says, then bounds off down the stairs. I limp my way down and around, considering that each step will be one I must climb back up. The bathroom, I discover, is on the ground floor. I try a tap and find that the plumbing works. But the light doesn't, and there is no window in this bathroom, so it's only a shadow woman who stares from the mirror. And she looks mad. She looks frightening, hollow-eyed and thin-cheeked. The space is so small I can barely turn without knocking an elbow, but I painstakingly remove the pajamas that aren't mine. The mirror woman becomes an Egyptian mummy wrapped in bandages. I am scared of what lies beneath, but I have to get them off. I go slowly at first, unwinding and rolling, but it's taking too long, and my heart is leaping forward. The thrumming is building in my chest. I start pulling at the bandages, and I'm not even really finished with one before I'm pulling at another, and everything is getting tangled, and this is how he finds me. With no warning at all, there is a man in the tiny bathroom with me. We stare at each other, shocked by the other's presence. I have seen this man before. I think I have dreamed of him. As he takes in the state of me, his expression changes. There are no clothes but the undies. There are bandages, but these are half unraveled. One breast is covered, the other hangs out. He is not looking, he is turning to go. Sorry, can you help me? I am dismayed at the break in my voice. Slowly he turns back. His large hands unroll the remaining bandages until I am revealed. It's both worse and better to see what's beneath. Strangely, the damage has been contained to my left side. Some of the wounds are deep chunks of flesh, either gone or sewn back onto me with clumsy black stitches. Others are shallow grazes. There are dark, sickly bruises blooming in a few places. It is frightening to see so much damage. I sink onto the closed toilet seat and rest my head in my hands. It's just a body. They either hold on or they don't. I look at him. Yours did, he clarifies. It doesn't feel like it has. And yet here you are, though you should be dead. This man, whoever he is looking at me, at my body, in pieces. He has seen me come apart, tried to put me back together again. Who are you? I ask. He looks surprised to be asked the question, probably hovering on his own tongue. He is very tall and his chest and shoulders are wide, but he is quite lean, his strength sinewy. He looks nothing like his son, who is fair. This man has dark short hair, a short beard, and dark eyes. There are deep lines around these eyes and wind marks on his cheeks. "Dominic," he says, his voice rough as though he doesn't much use it. "Dom, who are you?" "Rowan." I watch for any sign the name rings a bell. "Where'd you come from?" "Where did you come from?" Meaning, what are you doing here? I tell him I don't know. I eat a little, take more painkillers, and then sleep again. But this time, it is different. It's unburdened by fever or dreams. And when I wake, I know the worst of the illness has passed. The wounds will take longer to heal, but the pain of them feels less overwhelming. Mostly it is a deep muscle ache, a sense that my body has taken a battering and needs to move slowly for a while. I borrow some clothes from the wardrobe, pulling pants and a jumper carefully over the bandages that will need changing again soon. I need to find the kitchen. I'm famished. Downstairs, I take in the lighthouse with clearer eyes. The cozy lounge I slept in but did not really see sits in the main circular area of the building and has the dark green velvet couch, bookshelves, a thick furry rug. There is a fireplace all boarded up in favor of an electric heater. Everything looks very old, as if nothing has been replaced in a long time. I step into the adjoining kitchen to be met by a wall of light. Above the sink is a long, wide window. It faces the sea, though this is really only a smudge of gray in the distance. Down beneath the fall of the hill we sit atop. The sight of it sets my insides rolling, and I think I will be sick. I feel for the chair behind me and sink into it, breathing through the nausea. Sea legs! Jesus Christ! I spin around, clutching my chest in fright. There is a boy. Another one. He's sitting at the long timber dining table. "Sorry," he says. He is tall, like his dad, blonde, like his little brother. I'd pictured all three kids around Orly's age, but this boy is a teenager, and so is Fen. He has a couple of textbooks open in front of him and a giant bowl of cereal he's working his way through. "You lot are all the same," I accuse, lurking around. He has a spoonful. "You're Raph, then?" A nod. "Takes a while for your body to forget being on the boat. When did I get here?" "Week ago." 1 week. I've lost days. Somehow. Lying in bed, mostly unconscious. Many things have likely happened during this week, but still, there has been no mention of a boat, or of yen, and I guess I know what that means. The pit in my stomach opens again. "Can you point me to a bowl of that?" I ask, of his cereal. Raph unfolds himself from the chair. He is much taller than I realized, his head automatically ducking for lights and doorways. He returns with a big jar of muesli and a carton of long-life milk, then passes me a bowl and spoon to make my own. I wolf it down. I can't get it into me fast enough. It is the best thing I have ever eaten. The boy watches me. Feeling better then. I finish the bowl and make myself another. Raph points at the coffee pot on the stove, and I nod, and he makes me a strong, dark coffee that sets half the world right. As I sipped, he doesn't try to make conversation, just gets back to his textbooks. He is slow, meticulous. His finger moves beneath each line, lips silently mouthing the words as he goes. I notice him going over the same line half a dozen times before he moves on. I crane my neck to see what the subject is, and make out Year 9, Standard English. He looks a lot older than Year 9. "You're doing distance ed?" I ask him. Raph nods. "Summer holidays now, but I'm already behind." "How long have you been out here?" 8 years. I stare at him. "You're kidding." He stares back. He is not kidding. My eyes travel around the little room, the cluttered but very clean kitchen, and through the arched doorway to the old-fashioned lounge. It feels warm and lived in. There are home-drawn pictures stuck to walls and art and craft supplies scattered in one corner, half-finished projects in another. A Lego sculpture takes up half the living room. The normal detritus of children, but there is little modern tech. I can't see a television or a computer. No speakers for a sound system, no phones. Maybe I haven't looked closely enough, but from where I'm sitting now, the lighthouse could belong to another time. Another world entirely. I think of the fathomless sky above, and the gaping black space around this little building. I think of the days it took me to get here, on an immense and lonely ocean. I think of 8 years. Not unreasonable for an adult wanting solitude, wanting wildness, but for teenagers. I can't wrap my head around what the isolation might do to them. At the whim of my curiosity now, I get up and poke my head into the storeroom. It is long and dark and cool. There are dozens of shelves holding containers of dry goods. Someone has labeled and measured everything. A container of flour has a line for every week marked across 6 months. Every container and jar is the same. Rationed. I think how Spartan and disciplined a person must be to live here. Is this how often the supply ships come? I ask Raph through the door. Every 6 months? He nods. Bloody hell. What if you run out of something? Then you run out of it. What about medical supplies? There's a mini hospital down at the base. It's pretty well stocked. If you had a serious emergency, you could call for an evacuation. Under his breath, he adds, might take a while. What's the base? The research base. We study each other. In this look, I realize he is quite shrewd. He is letting me reveal how much I know about this island, and in doing so, explain whether I meant to be here. I give him nothing. I wait. Down in the pinch, he explains, there's a research base, usually full of scientists. Usually? They're gone now. Gone where? Home. All of them? He nods. My pulse thuds, loud. You mean there's not one other human being on this island? Except you and your family? The 4 of you. Raph nods. But he is looking at me, and he can hear my disbelief. My confusion. Why? I ask, forcing my voice calm. Shearwater's being closed down. He thinks better of that wording and tries again. People can't live here anymore. Why? I ask again. It's too dangerous. The island's disappearing. Then why are the 4 of you still here? We're just the caretakers. We're finishing up. We leave at the end of the season. Which is when? About 6 weeks. No way. If there really is no one else on this island, then I will not be staying for 6 more weeks. Can you show me to your communications? I need to radio for an evacuation. He doesn't say anything. Or did your dad already do that? Again, no reply. Raph just eats his cereal, and I don't like it one bit. Raph, has anyone been notified that I'm here? That there's a boat missing? They'll need to send search and rescue for Yen. We have your boat, a voice says, and I turn to see Dom in the doorway, watching me. The hairs on my neck stand on end. There is something nerve-wracking in their caginess, in their vagueness. Where is it? Is the captain? We've found no body, Dom says, but he's dead. God, the flat way he says it. Where is the boat? I ask. It's in pieces at the end of the drift. The drift. Orley mentioned that, didn't he? A current. A boat in pieces. I'd known, of course. Dominic comes into the room and guides me to a chair, helps me sit. I shrug his hands off me. You said there was one man on board? The captain? I nod faintly. Yen. And you? Another nod. Were you coming here, Rowan? To Shearwater. I lift my head to look him in the face. His eyes, which I thought were dark brown, are actually a greenish gray. I can see them in the light from the window. A sense of danger prickles my skin. All my life I have had more than a healthy dose of fear working at my edges. But I am also good at reading people, and there are things this father and son are not saying, something they are bristling with, a tension I have not imagined. No, I say, and with it I feel some of that tension seep away and know I am right to be wary. Then what on earth were you doing down here? Dom asks, sounding genuinely confused. I ignore the question and ask my own. Who have you contacted? No one. I shift uneasily on the seat. Okay, I'll go with you. We can go now. It triggers a kind of shutdown in him. He looks done with the conversation. And with me. Dom leaves the kitchen without another look, only a quick directive. Get some rest. I have been dismissed, and with that I am in no doubt that he doesn't plan to radio anyone. Dominic, she's lying to me. I don't know why or about what, but I've seen shifty enough to recognize it. My granddad lived with us when I was a kid, just me, him, and Dad, and he'd always be up to some scheme or other, coming home in the middle of the night after breaking into a work site or getting into a scuffle with his old biker mates. Any way a guy could think to get in trouble, my granddad had done it first. He was a piece of work, but I loved him, and what's more, he taught me not only how to box but how to sense when someone is lying. Weird theories chase themselves around in my mind about who this woman is and what she could be doing here. I go a few rounds with the bag to try to clear my head, get some perspective about what her presence means for us. Now that I know she's unlikely to be dying anytime soon, possibly it means very little. She's another mouth to feed, but she should also be another set of hands to help out. Possibly it means we're in trouble. It will depend on what she's lying about. I find Raph in the laundry, hand scrubbing the sheets Rowan's been sleeping on, now stained with blood. He won't get those stains out by hand, even with the bleach, but he's putting a lot of elbow grease into the effort. I'll give him that. You get a read on her? I ask. He glances at me, then nods through the window. I cross to his side and peer out. On the grass a little way down the hill is my youngest, doing some kind of performance with wild arm movements for a baffled-looking Rowan, who is hunched on the ground uncomfortably. She's a bit rough around the edges, but anyone would be, Raph says. After a moment he adds, I think he's acting out a movie. And we both smile. I take the second sink and give the sheets another round of scrubbing. Intermittently, we watch the stranger. I watch the way she watches my son, wondering what she's thinking. She was worried, Raph says abruptly, when I told her the researchers had left the island. My gaze travels over her shaved head. I wonder why she's cut her hair so short. I wonder a lot of things. She is dwarfed in one of my windbreakers, but I see movement in the lines of her shoulders that tells me she's laughing. An abandoned island is less hospitable than a populated one, I suggest. Yeah, Raph says, but it seemed different from that, like it wasn't what she was expecting. The words confirm something and cause a skittishness beneath my skin. I don't like wild cards. The wind picks up, making it too unpleasant for Orly and Rowan to be outside. I watch them hurry back toward us, then run my hand quickly over Raph's short blonde hair. Thanks, mate, I say, with a nod to the sheets, and head out. 6 weeks. We only have to hold it together for 6 more weeks. A limp to the end of this disastrous season. Lie down. It is late and as dark as it gets on this island. I have worked hard all day, harder even than I usually do. My body is so tired it can barely function. Exhaustion, I have found, is useful not only for my son's rage but also for grief. Grief finds power in the strength of my limbs, and if I happen to make it to the end of a day without having completely shattered myself, grief will be fueled by whatever's left of my energy. It will overcome. But tonight I am liquid. Lie down, she says, and I do. My children are asleep, 2 of them under this roof, the 3rd in a boathouse down a hill. I sent Raph down earlier with dinner for Finn, as I do each night, unable to go myself, terrified of my inability to say the right thing. If I go down there, I'll hurt her worse, so I stay away, I leave her be. Close your eyes, my wife says, a figure beside me on the bed. What if she's come because she knows something? I ask aloud. What could she know? I shake my head. I don't know. The timing feels weird. Shh. It doesn't matter. Close your eyes. I close my eyes. I imagine the curve of her hip, her waist, the shape of her breasts. I can feel them. Her warmth seems real. Her breath on my lips. Her hand on my body, or is it my own hand? They are the same, it doesn't matter where I end, and she begins. But maybe I shouldn't be allowing Orly to spend so much time with the stranger. He has been sleeping on the end of her bed like a lost puppy. She is warm and new and interesting, my wife explains. I shouldn't let him get attached. Why not? She's a stranger. Only until she's not. I feel the full press of her, and my mind finally starts to clear. That's enough now, no more thinking. And so I stop thinking and give myself over to her, to the memory of her, and yet it's more than that, isn't it? It feels like so much more than that, a possession almost, her body upon mine, moving gently, overcoming me. My last thought, though, before I fall asleep, is not of the woman beside me, but of the other. Why is she here? Rowan. When my mother found out she was dying, she did not book plane tickets to travel the world. She didn't plan retreats to day spas or buy concert tickets. She didn't sell her things with abandon and move to a remote location, nor did she contact past loves or old friends. She didn't write letters to her children. She watched television. I didn't know what else to do, so I watched it with her. We sat on her couch, and we watched every show we could think of and hundreds of movies, and we didn't say much to each other. And months passed, and then she died. I gave away my own TV after that. Said it was because I had watched more than any one human should watch in a lifetime, but really it was because I couldn't stomach it. I would switch it on and I'd be back there, sitting with my mother, sick inside, from all the unsaid things and with the noise of it, always in the background, even while I slept, even in my dreams. It was panic, that feeling. Panic at the nearness of death, at its thickness upon the air. I fight that same panic now, in this lighthouse, among strangers. It is hard not to feel trapped. Hard not to let my mind flap at the edges of my body, trying to escape the sinking feeling that something isn't right. I do not know why he hasn't contacted anyone for help, and I'm not sure I believe there is no one else on this island and no way off it. I will have to discover the truth of this for myself. I find a broom and use it to help me walk. I have done almost nothing, but lie in bed for a week. And now I am off to the pinch and the research base. I don't care if it's too soon, I can't lie still any longer. The girl in whose room I am staying is a little smaller than me, so all her clothes feel too tight, too short. In her boots, my little toes curl in, and soon they are throbbing. But I have the vodka, and I sip it as I limp my way across the grassy hill. The first bottle is long since finished, but I convinced Orly to steal me another. He told me there will be a reckoning for this, which was both amusing and terrifying from a 9-year-old. Each step pulls at my bad side, at the torn skin, trying its hardest to knit back together. And by the time I have made it to the edge of the headland, I can feel fresh blood trickling down my leg. I lift my layers to reveal that the bandage around my hips has soaked through. The stitches in a particularly tender wound have come open. I straighten and consider my options. From here, I can see the pinch. Way down at the bottom of this mountainous rise. Down by the sea. There doesn't look to be any clear path to it. Just a series of steep drops and mounds of thick tussock to traverse around. I could go back. Ask Dom to help fix the stitches. Ask him again why he hasn't sent out an SOS. Instead, I grit my teeth and keep going. Stubbornness, maybe, but also fear. What the fuck was I thinking when I got on that boat? The descent is painful. My knees and ankles don't like it. Soon I am panting with the effort, swigging the vodka, keeping on. When the wind hits, I have to pause. The force of it is mind-blowing. It must be traveling at well over 100 kilometers an hour. Moving against it is too difficult and very dangerous. Several times I am nearly swept right off the hill, so I curl myself into the protected side of a mound to wait for it to slow. I watch the lumpy grasses dance, their edges flashing from silver to green and back again like a light show. The sound is a deep, hollow roar. Gulls of different sizes fly overhead, their wings catching the pockets. I can see dark shag-type birds and something smaller, more darting. I sit for a long time, and I think I catch sight of an albatross wheeling past, its white wings much wider than those of the other birds. Its flight, a graceful glide without a single flap. The wind eases, and I continue on. I reach a natural slope that takes me down to the pinch, where the various buildings of the research base are scattered. I am on flatter ground now, and there are foot-worn pathways snaking through the tall mounds. Snuffles and grunts come from either side of me, and I am astonished to see heads poking up from behind the grass. Seals are lying hidden among it, close enough for me to touch if I wanted to. I am stunned at their size, and their colors too, ranging from the grays I think of seals being to different shades of tan and mustard yellow. Their bodies are enormous and heavy. I have no idea how they flop themselves out of the sea and across this lumpy ground. Their eyes are liquid and bottomless, and I stop to stare. "Hello," I say to one of them, and it gives a deep, rumbling gurgle that makes me jump. I decide to give them as wide a berth as I can on the narrow paths. I emerge from the tussock mounds and see that the last leg of the walk will take me across the beach. A long expanse of black silty sand is strewn with what the sea has rejected. Bright red-orange kelp, tubular and alien-looking. Bleached white bones and teeth, so big I know they must belong not only to the seals but to whales too. The ocean is very rough and loud in my ears. My eyes scan for any boats I might use to sail home, but even if I were to spot any, it's foolish to think I could captain one over a tumultuous ocean. I am far from a sailor, and what's more, I have been terrified of the sea since long before Yen's boat wrecked. I turn away and take in the island instead. Tall green mountains, their tops shrouded in gray mist. Rocky cliffs. There is a prehistoric feel to it, an overwhelming sense of the ancient, of time, and of something chilling. It is the bones, I think, and the bloodiness of the kelp, the black sand. It's the colors and the isolation, and the outlandishness of the animals. The mist. I feel overwhelmed by the place, and despite its beauty I am frightened. I put my head down and hurry for the base, soon forced to wade through shin-deep water. I don't think it's high tide. The time is wrong. It's as Raph said, this island is no longer safe. It's an immense relief to close the container door behind me and shut out the wind. I'm in the mess room. Tables are laid out in neat lines, chairs sitting upside down atop them. I put one on the floor and sit wearily, meaning to rest for only a moment, but sitting in a daze for some long, unknowable amount of time. The room is homely, with photos all over the walls. I can almost see the researchers eating at these tables, can hear their voices chatting. The scrape of the chairs, the clang of the cutlery on plates, the general din of a makeshift family at mealtime. Without all of that, the room feels like a hollow place. The kitchen is attached and has the look of any commercial kitchen, or maybe one on an army base. I drag myself upright to inspect the storeroom, which still contains a fair amount of dry food, but the big fridge has been cleared out and switched off. In fact, there's no power at all. I follow an enclosed tunnel to another container, this one the hospital. Low camp beds line one wall. It's been left stocked, so I scrounge around for as many pain meds as I can identify, plus disinfectant, more bandages, and antibiotics for infections. I sit on one of the beds and struggle out of my top layers. I'm freezing, but I have to do something about the wound on my hip. I unroll the bloodied bandage and peel off the plaster. The half-moon-shaped wound is oozing dark blood. I wipe it clean and use butterfly clips to press the edges back together, then apply a clean plaster and a new bandage to hold it all in place. I doubt that will be enough. It'll probably need proper stitches again, but it's the best I can do for now. I take the opportunity to change my other bandages for fresh ones, and it helps me to feel less disgusting. With my clothes back on, I move out into the wind, traversing a short stretch of muddy ground to a different set of containers. The first is a science lab. There are cupboards full of jars and bottles, all neatly labeled. Fridges that hang open, their contents presumably compromised by now. Sinks and workbenches and beakers and microscopes. It is so chaotic and crowded, like a lost and found, that I have no idea how they kept track of what was actually in here. Next, I find the sleeping quarters. Inside, there are beds but no personal items. There is water around my feet, splashing as I walk. The entire base feels like it could float away at any moment. In a common area is a wall of photos. I cross to it and peer at the faces. Some of the photos are candid, group shots of smiling team members and staff, photos with the wildlife, a few in the mess hall celebrating Christmas, the New Year's party. But there are also headshots with names and roles. I read each one, recognizing some. Searching for one in particular, I find him at the end, where he ought to be. Hank Jones, senior botanist of the Shearwater Island Global Seed Bank, terrestrial ecologist and research-based team leader. A man in his 40s with warm brown eyes, a slightly crooked nose, and a smiling mouth. I'm having a hard time imagining why the team leader of this base would leave before a project was wrapped up. But there is no getting around it. He isn't here. No one is here. I pocket the photo and move on. Night falls. I can't make that climb in the dark. I'm not sure I can make it at all. I've got myself into a mess here. Without a working heater in the base, I can feel the temperature dropping. I eat from the storeroom, cold tins of beans and spaghetti, and then I climb into one of the abandoned beds in the sleeping quarters, pulling blankets on top of me. I don't sleep. I listen to the ocean lapping at the feet of the bed, imagine it rising up and over me, sliding down my throat and into my lungs. For a moment today I'd had thoughts of moving myself down here until someone from the mainland comes to get me, but now I realize the lighthouse is a fucking resort compared to this place. The sea has claimed the base and there's no taking it back. He finds me in the morning. I am pulling on his daughter's boots when Dominic bursts into the mess hall. He spots me and looks relieved but doesn't say anything. Instead, he goes to the kitchen and makes us both a bowl of oats in long-life milk. We sit in silence and eat it. My jaw starts to ache. "You find what you came for?" he asks me when we are done. "No. Thought we'd lied to you." "No. Not exactly. If everyone had to evacuate, then what are you still doing here?" "Did Orly tell you about the seeds?" "I can't get him to stop telling me about the seeds." Dom's mouth quirks. "Did he tell you about the vault?" "A bit." "I'm gonna guess he didn't mention it's being shut down." "He's not happy about it. We're packing up the seeds. Some of them. When we go, they go too." "Where?" "Smaller seed bank on the mainland." I study him. He seems guileless. "And you're doing this without any supervision?" He sits back in his chair, his limbs altogether too long for it. "You don't reckon my kids and I are capable of packing a few boxes?" Orly said this is one of the world's last banks, and it has numerous extinct species. "Yep, and it's still just packing boxes." I meet his eyes. "Dom, how are we going to get me off this island?" I climb onto the quad bike behind him, making sure to keep a gap between our bodies. The second we take off over the rough terrain, I have instant regret. It is so rough it feels as though my body might simply bounce into pieces. After a while, I concede that I wouldn't have made the climb on foot. The communications building is, understandably, at the top of a high peak. By the time we reach it, I am weak from the strain of keeping my seat, and there are spots in my vision. Dom helps me inside and onto a chair, offering me water from his pack. "You barely ate for a week," he points out. "It'll take a bit for you to get your strength back. So who do we call?" Dom lifts the radio receiver and presses what I'm assuming is the power button. Nothing happens. He fiddles with a few other instruments, but there are no lights, no sounds, it's all dead. He looks at me and waits. My blood starts to rise. "Just tell me." "The comms are all down." "Meaning what?" "Every instrument we use on this island to contact the mainland is dead. The radio system, the satellite internet. It's all broken." I stare at him. There is a prickling sensation on the back of my neck. "What the fuck are you talking about? How is that possible?" He spells it out. "They've been broken." "By who?" "I don't know." The strangest sensation touches the back of my neck and I look behind me in the small space, almost for a second, expecting someone else to be in here with us. But we are alone, and all the hairs on my arms are standing on end. "I only noticed it after the last ship left," Dom says, and I turn back to him, trying to slow my racing thoughts. "Meaning it could have been anyone who left the island." He nods. "What?" "They busted up all the equipment and then bailed." "To do what?" "Strand you here." "Why?" "I don't know." "That doesn't make sense." "I know it doesn't. You must have some idea of why someone would do that to you." "No." We stare at each other. I don't believe him. He knows more than he's saying. But I am suddenly overwhelmed by what this means. The sea is beneath my feet again, a woozy sway. Won't whoever you're in contact with notice that you're not answering and send help? They won't be expecting to hear from us, not until it's time to be collected. "Well, fuck. Can you fix it?" I ask feebly. A shake of his head then. "But you can see why it's strange to me. Your timing." "What timing?" "You showing up here on an unscheduled boat right after all our comms are taken out." I work that one through in my head. "I don't have anything to do with your radio, Dom. I wasn't coming here." His head tilts a little. "Yeah, you said that." We peer at each other. Wind creeps through a window. My heart still won't slow. The thing that isn't making sense to me is that he should treat me with so much suspicion, as though he needs to be wary of me. But what exactly is it that he thinks I'm a threat to? What is he trying to protect? It seems clear that shit has gone down here. If somebody's busted up the comms, there's been trouble. And he is hiding it from me. I can't get back on the quad bike so soon, opting instead to take a very slow walk down the hill to the lighthouse, assuming it will be easier to go downhill. It's not. My knees and my thighs and my bum, all my muscles, all my joints, all my wounds. There is a place that pain takes you. I haven't known this place before. That is a privilege, isn't it? But I know it well now. It is both vast and minuscule. It is as far as my mind can travel, and as contained as the blades of grass under my feet. It is my body. It is hard to make sense of the fragility of it. It's just a body, he said, and I try to make that true. But as I walk, I can't be anything else. I am all body, only body. At its mercy, it becomes everything, and then it starts to fail. My steps grow wobbly, my knees weaken, and then buckle. He returns for me on the noisy, rumbling bike with an expression that says he does not have time for this. For my frivolity. As he lifts me, I am aware, more than anything, of the way he smells. It is, I can't name it, but it fills me. He pulls me onto the seat behind him, and instead of space, there is its opposite, my arms encircling his body. My face rests against his back. I don't mean for it to, but I am so tired. I despise needing him, but I have no choice. For a few minutes I will have to surrender to him, to the texture and scent of him. And as I do, I feel a surprising gentleness, and somehow these bodies are two bodies. Feel oddly the same, they feel like one body. And when we stop and get off, we will be two, and I am delirious, I think. We reach the lighthouse, and he kills the engine, but neither of us moves immediately, maybe gathering ourselves for the task of climbing off, attempting the stairs. "Dom," I say, and he tilts his face back toward mine. My boat had a radio. He nods, has already thought of it. I don't know how to get to it. I've had a thought about that, too. There is a girl, and her brother says she is born for the water. Before I can go in search of her, bed again. My body's glad of it. I have left the curtains open to the eerie nighttime sunlight. My fingers reach to my pocket, with the photo within. I draw it out and look at his face, the handsome lines of it, the light behind his eyes. These features I will never forget the look of, for the man in this photo, who is the team leader of Shearwater's research base, is also my husband. Dominic, I check on Rowan. The trip to the base and the comms tower was too much for her. She felt very warm on the bike behind me, and I'm worried she might have an infection. I come across Orly, hovering outside her door. "You all right, mate?" I knocked, but she said not to go in. She's not feeling well. Still, he is worried, touching the door absently. It makes my chest ache to see how quickly he has curled into her space, to realize how much he must have been yearning for it. Just for a second, I allow a childish thought. I try so hard to be enough, but I never will be. And then I banish it, come to my senses. His grief, his loneliness, the absence in our lives, none of that is about me. It's only natural for a child to want his mum. It's just that this wanting is being thrown into stark relief for the first time. "You go back to your room now," I tell Orly. "Can't I stay?" he asks. "I'll just sneak in." "She might get cold." "She'll be right. You worry about yourself getting cold? Okay, you sleep with Raph tonight. I might even hop in with them. As much fun as three lads kicking each other all night will be." He casts a long look at the door. "Will she go, if you fix the radio?" "I can't fix the radio, I've tried." He nods, relieved, and gives me a kiss before climbing the stairs to the room he shares with Raph. I knock on the door, and when I don't hear a response, I open it a crack, wanting to make sure she's okay. I don't want her here or trust her, but I still have a duty of care. She is a lump under the covers. There is a candle burning beside her and a shaft of light from the window. I edge my way in and very gently feel her forehead for fever. She is warm but not burning hot. The touch causes her to roll in her sleep, so her face is lit by the window. Yen, she said his name was. I wonder if he was her partner. I wonder if it's grief that pulls her back under. The room has the heavy feel of it. Something catches my eye. A thing lying on the bed beside her, glinting in the light. I stare at it, slowly making sense of what it is, and then my heart is juddering. Dazed, I cross to the window and pull the curtain closed so she won't be woken too early. Moving. Really. Without thought. When I turn back, meaning to leave, it's to see that her eyes are open and she's watching me in the dark. The single candle throws flickering shadows onto the walls. Do I ask her about the photo, or pretend I haven't seen it? She speaks first. Did you break the radio? No, I say. Do you know who did? No. There is a nakedness in this room, and within it she seems to take me at my word, in a way she didn't earlier. Something in her relaxes a fraction. Then you don't mean to keep me here? No, I say softly. For all our sakes, I wish you'd never come. Rowan. The slab is down and I am hosing it carefully to make sure it doesn't crack while it sets. The sun is scorching on my face, but there is a crispness to the autumn air that means you can be cold while your skin burns. I am peering around at this land, my land, so recently acquired, and pondering how overwhelmed I feel by it. I don't know what to do here. This is all I have ever wanted, land of my own, a place to build a home. But now that I stand here, I feel dwarfed by the enormity of the space around this cement slab. I know I want wildness, I want to grow things, but I don't know how or where to start, and I feel young and foolish and very alone. It's only by chance that I turn and look out over the valley, at the reason I chose this place, those snow gums. Their ghostly white trunks streaked through with blood red and ochre yellow, their gnarled and twisted forms contorted into eerie sculptures. They are unlike any other tree I have seen. There is a man among them. I turn off the hose and jump down onto the grass. My stride is as quick as my pulse. He is trespassing. Hi, I call. He turns and sees me approaching. The sun is at my back. He lifts a hand to shield his eyes, squints to make me out. He is neither big nor small in stature. Neat brown hair, handsome but forgettable face. Not particularly remarkable. He wears a backpack and carries a notepad and pen. I think about these things because I may need to describe him to the police. Hi there, he says, his accent American. Do you need help? I ask. Not unless you can tell me why the Foracantha are increasing their damage on the Passiflora. I study him, already knowing him. Let me rephrase. Why are you on my land without permission? Trying to figure out why the Foracantha are increasing their damage on the Passiflora. I must look unimpressed because he laughs, and that's when I see it. There is something remarkable after all. It's his smile and that laugh, the warmth of it. Can I explain over a coffee? I don't have coffee. I don't have a kitchen. He peers up the hill at the work site. Incredible spot you've got here. What do you plan on doing with it? Just, house, garden. Can I take a look at the aspect from up there? I don't answer, wondering how I will get rid of this guy. Purely for appreciation, he says. I love it here. I'm from New York. I'm studying the decline in your snow gums. You're wondering why, of course. I like to travel. I try to take on projects all over the world. It's taken me 15 years to get here to the Eucalyptus passiflora, and they don't disappoint. He is gazing around at the rainbow snow gums, happy it seems, to chat away without much response from me. I guess he remembers his manners because he offers a hand and says, Hank Jones, professor of biology at NYU. I'm leading a research project into adapting plants to climate change, specifically swapping genetic modules between cells to create more drought tolerance. But as I'm starting to see, drought is not the only problem here. There's a wood-boring beetle using the drought's dryness to dig more deeply into the gums. The trees are dealing with a double-pronged attack. The hand is still outstretched, waiting for me. Reluctantly, I shake it. I really just want to get back to watering my slab. I turn and head up the hill, letting him follow me. It's triple, I tell him over my shoulder. What's the third? Fire. Ah, of course. At the top, he steps up onto the cement and takes in the view. In every direction are sloping hills and valleys, some covered in thick bush, some rocky outcrops glistening in the sunlight, and on the higher mountains in the distance is snow. I can feel how moved he is by it in the quality of his silence. Some of my impatience eases. I feel proud suddenly of this place I'm to make my home. Unlike the rest of our surroundings, the stretch of hill we stand on is bare of vegetation, but for 3 enormous eucalypts. "You could do a wildflower meadow," he says suddenly. He's jumped down onto the grass and is walking across the hill. "It's perfect here." I don't even know if he's talking to me, but he is rapt by this idea. Craspedias and stylidiums, gentianellas, leucochrysum, ranunculus, brachyscum, euphrasia. These mountains were underwater, he says abruptly, glancing at me with astonishment as though I have told him this fact instead of him, me. Hundreds of millions of years ago. And during the Ice Age there were glaciers all over it. Which means that, geologically speaking, it's very interesting. The rocks are incredibly old, and there's evidence that the unusual variety of botanical families found here date all the way back to Gondwana, which is why you can find species here that resemble flora of the northern hemispheres. Do you know how lucky you are that this is yours? You could do Prostanthera cuneata and Grevillea and Myrtus. They would all thrive in each other's company, and the light is perfect. He has barely remembered to breathe. He is so excited. And as he smiles at me with the delight of this, with the plants he has imagined and brought to life around him, I start to see what he sees. Not the plants specifically. I have no idea what any of those names mean, but I see the hill we stand on covered in color. He has painted it for me. I walk over to the caravan and flick on the kettle for a cuppa. I try to keep this memory in the forefront of my mind. I try to recall in as much detail as I can those first days and weeks and months of discovering that we were both in love with the same place, the same mountains, the same small patch of land, and by extension, each other. He could see how to turn the land I'd bought into a home. I would build the house, and, improbably, this man from across the world would plant the garden, and together we would create a life. To find him now, to figure out why he left Shearwater without telling me, to ask him what on earth is going on, and to make sure he's okay, I need a girl who can swim out to retrieve a radio. If Hank isn't here, then I have come for nothing, and I need to get off this drowning island. Fen lives on the beach, they've told me. So I am making the trip down the hill for the second time when I hear a noise and turn to see a flash of pale hair among the tussocks. Could that be a rare golden shag I see hiding in the grass? Orley stands up with an eye roll. No such thing as a golden shag. No shit. What are you doing? Following you. Why? Dad said I have to leave you alone. This isn't doing a very good job of that. I turn and keep walking, but every now and then I hear him behind me. And eventually I call, "Either walk with me or go home. This is annoying." He hurries to my side, a little skip in his step. "You're a bit grumpy, huh?" "Am I?" "A bit. How come?" I think about it. There are several current reasons that seem obvious enough, but I try to think back to before all of this and ponder whether I've always been grumpy. I think I've been pissed off for a while, I admit, though pissed off is not the right way to describe the state of me over the last year. How come? All I can think to say is, I built a house. What kind of house? Just a house. My sisters helped a bit, but mostly I did it myself. It took a long time, a lot of years. It had a garden. I stop, because I don't know how to talk about this garden, or really this house either. My life. Where was it? He asks, his eyes alight at the mention of a garden. In the snowy mountains. Were there snow gums? He demands. I smile. Yeah, there were snow gums. There were a lot of things. It was more of a wildlife corridor than a garden, I guess. We did a lot of work, but there were parts where you just stood back and let nature do its thing. The plants and trees were so varied that it meant the patch of land was full of animals. There were emus and dingoes. Those were the ones everyone used to get excited about. But I really loved the platypus in the stream and the family of wombats that had dug their burrows just outside my bedroom window. They have square poos, did you know that? He laughs. No way. I nod. But I am finding it hard to keep my voice steady, and it occurs to me that maybe this isn't the best thing to tell a 9-year-old about. What happened? He asks. A bushfire came through. We are both quiet for a while, thinking through all that means. Was there much left? He asks. The house? No. If I look up into the sky now, I will see the way the ash fell like snow in the night, swirling and delicate. The crazy thing is that I'd engineered the house to be as fire-resistant as possible. I thought I was being silly, and then a fire comes along that reminds you that you know absolutely nothing about what nature is capable of. The power of it is ludicrous, beyond your capacity to prepare for, and everything burns if it's hot enough. The animals? Orly asks. The snow gums? I don't reply, because he already knows the answer. I can hear it in his voice. It was hard to be cheerful after that. I tell him. Will you rebuild? No, there's no point in rebuilding. It'll go again, another fire will come. Because of climate change, he says, working it through. That's right. Will we die of climate change? Orly asks, sounding more curious than scared. I don't know, but if you had to guess. He's pushing me. I'm not sure what answer he's hoping for. What are you meant to do with kids? Protect them or be honest? I shrug. Tell him what I think is true. One day soon enough, everything is either going to burn, drown, or starve, including us. He stares at me. I spread my hands. You asked. We walk in silence for a bit, and I start to feel guilty. I'm only joking. I say feebly, but I don't think he's listening. Orly asks, so what will you do if you won't rebuild? I think about having nothing and what that can do to you, how it can paralyze a person. I was paralyzed for a while. Deep in my cells, I was inert. I was lost. Until I got on that boat to come here. And now it feels like if I stop moving, even for a second, I will perish. Did you get to know any of the scientists who lived here? I ask Orly a little later. He nods. Raf's friend Alex. He came up to the lighthouse for dinner a lot. Oh yeah? What was his job? He was studying the fur seals. Do you know sealers nearly wiped them out? Thousands and thousands of them. Back in the 1800s. But people like Alex have been bringing them back. I think on this. Leaning against my walking stick, a whole population of animals clubbed to death. I can see the beach now, stretching below us. I can picture the ship, anchored a little way out. Can see their dinghy rowed in, men climbing out onto the black sand, surrounded by such astonishing creatures, and, what's more, by the miracle of their trust, animals who had never learned to fear humans. I feel sick, actually, and the vividness of the vision feels beyond me. It feels outside my body, like something I am being shown. I have a sense now of why this place feels so creepy. It hangs upon the air, the memory of this violence. Who else did you know? I ask him. The base leader? No, Orly says. Not really. But he answers too quickly. You didn't have anything to do with him? Didn't ever cross paths? I mean, a little. What was he like? Hank, Orly thinks. He was nice. Everyone liked him. Mates with your dad? Oh, no, not dad. I look sideways at him. Really? Why not? I don't know. Did they not like each other? I press. Dad said once that he could see through Hank. Orly looks at me. What does that mean? Just? I try to work it out too. I guess it means he thought Hank wasn't who he seemed to be. Oh, why do you care anyway? I don't, I say robotically, but Orly has already darted forward. Not interested in my response. My two small boots hit the black sand of the beach. We have been picking our way around the big fat seals on the pathways. Some of them look up at us as we pass. Some snort and give a lazy gurgle, while others don't bother lifting their heads. Meet the wieners, Orly says. Elephant seal babies. The adults have gone out to sea already. I can't even imagine the size of the adults if these giants are the infants. There is a human shape in the distance. Out among the fur seal colony. We make our way past the clumps of bright seaweed, over the bones. Birds fill the sky. I don't know what kinds they are. Mind the gentoos, Orly says, skirting around little waddling penguins with bright yellow feet and beaks. They are much cuter than they have any business being, I comment. It is hard to take in that they are just here, right beside me, completely unbothered by the presence of people on their beach. I know. My favorites are the royals. They have those long orange eyebrows, you know? They let you get close too. You can hang out with the royals and the kings. They're down on South Beach. But these gentoos are more shy, so we have to be careful not to disturb them. Got it. We give them a few meters berth. I can see about a dozen of them awkwardly wandering over the rocks, sort of idly making their way toward the roaring sea. When they reach the water, I see that awkwardness morph into a smooth, sleek dive through the waves. As we draw nearer to the fur seals, The sound of them crests. Could there be hundreds of them? The honks and snorts from the adults are coupled with what sounds like the bleat of lambs. In my confusion, I look for the source of this and realize there are little, squidgy shapes in among the adults. Sand-covered babies with little ears poking out of their heads, dozens and dozens of them making these tiny lamb cries. "Oh my God," I say. "I didn't know they'd given birth," Orly exclaims. "Let's not get too close." As he says this, a huge male starts flopping over to us with an aggressive bark. I am alarmed, but Orly raises his hands above his head and says, "Shoo, go away." And the seal kind of considers him, gives a huffy sniff, and then flaps back to the colony. I can't help laughing. "That was King Brown," Orly tells me, as though this explains the interaction. "You guys name them?" "Alex and Fen did." A sleek, light gray mother seal starts shouting, panicked, and as we watch, the girl, the human shape among this astonishing mound of furry bodies, picks her way over to the crying mother, and without any hesitation she shoves an enormous male in the side, making him start with surprise and shuffle his way off the tiny baby he'd been squashing. The little seal pup shakes its head and bleats for its mother, who nuzzles it in relief, while the male gives a roar of indignation and then flops back down to sleep. "He nearly killed the baby," I say, horrified. "Yeah, it happens, sadly. They don't mean to, they're just so big. Fen stays in there a lot to try to stop it." "Doesn't it bother them to have a human among them?" Orly frowns, looking at his sister. "I guess not," he says, as though it's a stupid question. And given what we're looking at, I suppose it is. The researchers used to have rules about keeping a few meters away, letting them come to you, just basically not bothering them. But they didn't even try to make Fen stick to those rules. She's just one of the seals, which seems a truly bizarre thing to try to contemplate. And I find myself wondering how this could be true, how such a thing could come to be. Why is she down here among these animals instead of living in a house with her family? And why does her dad allow it? Fen has seen us now and is making her way over to us. We have met before, but that feels like part of the fever dream. I take her in properly, watch the way her body moves, completely at ease on the sand and among the animals, strong and graceful in the full wetsuit that looks not unlike the sleek, dark fur of the seals. Her hair is long and sun-bleached blonde, tangled and salty, almost to the point of dreadlocks. Her skin is very tanned and freckled, and she seems like a wild animal who has stepped free of a life underwater. Maybe Dom doesn't have much choice in the matter of who and what his daughter is. I can't imagine it would be easy trying to keep this creature from the sea. "Hi," I start to say before I am cut off by an embrace. I am so shocked, and it hurts so much that I don't think to hug her back. And when she lets her arms drop, I immediately regret this, wanting to reach for her even through the pain. "Oh," she gasps. "Your wounds," I grimace. "It's okay. Sorry, it's just—" Her eyes are filling. "I didn't know if you'd wake up." I gaze at this girl, realizing all three of these children have shown me the same open warmth, a kindness given freely and without agenda, and I wonder if that generosity is a product of their isolation, of their loneliness, or if it is simply a truth of their characters. Their father is different. He looks at me with wariness. But if that is to protect his children, then I can understand it. I don't want to ask this girl what I've come here to ask her. Not now that I know she will say yes. "They're beautiful," I say of the seals, and she beams, a smile of crooked white teeth, and she is beautiful. "They are," Fen agrees. "I find it so hard to leave them. How are you?" "I'm okay." "You were just a shape," she admits. "Tangled in driftwood and kelp. I didn't think you'd be alive." I don't know how to thank her, how to convey the enormity of my gratitude. "Come on," she says before I can try. She leads Orly and me to a wooden hut on stilts in the water. It's a boat shed, with a single rumpled mattress in one corner, a kitchenette with a sink, kettle, and fridge, and a bookshelf bursting with paperbacks. Finn has a row of shells and knickknacks on the windowsill above her bed, the only sign a teenage girl lives here. This all sits alongside 3 inflatable motorboats, bobbing gently against the timber floorboards. It is cold in this shack, and it feels exposed, and looking at the space makes me feel a little depressed for her. "Could I use one of these to get back to the mainland?" I ask, gesturing to the boats. The kids look at each other and burst out laughing. My hope curls into embarrassment. Yeah, what then? What are you showing me? I have an idea, Fen says. If you want, I mean. Okay. Dad told you where your boat is? She asks. I nod. I might be able to use the Zodiac to reach it. Then radio and SOS. Turns out I didn't need to ask at all. The problem is the current. I've heard it from each of them separately. The drift is perilous. There's no swimming against it, there's barely swimming with it. It dumps you ferociously onto sharp-toothed rocks. If Fen can manage to steer the Zodiac into a calm pocket of water protected by the hull of the wrecked boat, she might be able to climb onto the deck, find the bridge, and check the radio, all without getting wet. But if the current steers her too far to the left or right, even by millimeters, she will shoot past the wreck and into the rocks. The big thing, she says, is not to tell Dom. No, I say, no way. But she says, I know this ocean, trust me. With such confidence, and because the selfish, ugly part of me wants to, I do. She looks at Orly next, the weakest link. We can both see him itching to race for home, worried about his sister, but also happy to be part of this. Can we count on you? She asks him. Orly extends his hand and they shake. You can. We climb into the Zodiac. I don't want to be in this flimsy boat, or any boat. But despite their clear independence, I don't think I should let them attempt any of this without adult supervision. Orly and I will go with Fen to the southern bay and watch from land. Fen starts the motor and steers us out of the shed. The sea opens up before us. I train my eyes skyward. If I think about how close the water is, if I imagine how easy it would be to tip over, I stop being able to breathe. I focus on my bum on the rubber, my feet in the boat, my hands tight about the rope rail. We zoom along the island's coast, cresting waves with big leaps and landing so hard we are thrown up off our seats and slammed back down on our tailbones. I scream with each one. It hurts. Sea spray drenches us and I realize too late it's drier to sit at the back. Orly can't stop laughing at my screams. In a calmer moment, I look up at the island, taking it in. It is dramatic, mist-shrouded. That's a blue-eyed shag, Orly says, pointing out a flash of black passing over our heads. They're endemic to shearwater. Along the shoreline are huge stretches of white, and Fen steers closer so I can see that they are in fact enormous penguin colonies. Thousands and thousands of birds in swarming masses. Royals, Orly says, or kings. There are rockhoppers around here too, but not as many. I think of the life these kids are living, surrounded by such beauty, by so much wildness. This place is a dream. Do they think it's normal? Even my home among the trees was still nothing like this. The animals I shared a stretch of forest with were shy and elusive. If I ever saw them, it was as they ran from me. I'm not even sure I knew places like this island still existed. That a place so alive could survive our colonizing. On the tail of this thought, I spot large metal shapes in among the penguins, rising up above them, red with rust. There is a bad feeling in me as I look at them. What are those? Both the kids go silent. Then Fen says, the sealers who came here. When they'd clubbed all the seals they could find, they'd stuffed the penguins into those barrels. Alive, Orly adds, to boil all their oils out. Oh, God. And they're still just sitting there? I don't think anyone knows whose job it would be to remove them, so they say they're historical artifacts. I look at the barrels and at the thousands upon thousands of penguins surrounding them. As before, the image is like an intrusion into my mind. I see the men again, climbing out of their wooden boats and wading through those masses, lifting the little creatures into the barrels and ignoring their screams. I am glad when we've passed this particular stretch of coast. We see them too, Orly says to me, and I look at him and realize he sees not only the penguins and the men, but me. He sees far too much of me. The bay is deceptively calm. Yen's boat appears as we round some rocks and enter the mouth. It is confronting to see it so broken, and I find it hard not to go back again to that storm and that swell. He tried to make a mayday call, but the only station close enough to hear us was here, on Shearwater, and nobody answered. I know now it's because the radio had been destroyed, and most of the island's occupants had already gone. But we didn't know he wasted so much time trying to get through, and the waves were so big. "It's okay," Fen tells me softly. "Sorry," I swallow. "I didn't realize it would be so hard to see." She steers us closer, then idles the engine and lets us bob in the waves. I can see a change in the color of the water, which must be the drift. I can see the rocks. I can't see a way to avoid either. I realize we are not getting that radio. "I'll drop you to shore and circle back," Fen says. "No," I say, and she looks at me. "We're going home now." "What?" "No, I can make it." I hold her eyes. "We're going home now." "It's all right." Her mouth opens, but whatever she was going to say dissolves and her shoulders slump. "But we need the radio. It's not worth drowning for." Fen starts the Zodiac once more and makes a wide turn. It opens up a different view of the rocks the craft is wedged within. "What's that?" Orly asks. "Stop, Fen. What is that?" She slows, and I make sense of it seconds before they do. I grab Orly and pull his face to my chest so he can't see. "Don't look," I say to Fen. "Don't look." But she is looking, and a sob leaves her, because the body barely looks human anymore. Birds have feasted on him. And the rocks. He is not in the shape he should be. His limbs are out of place. Parts of his skin gone. "Go, Fen." I order her, making my voice hard enough to reach through to her, and she blinks, wipes her eyes, and navigates us out of the bay. Her hands on the throttle are shaking. I am still holding Orly against me, not letting him move, and he submits to it, returns the embrace. I don't know how much he saw. I face the wreck and the rocks and Yen's body. I watch it grow smaller. I'm so sorry, I'm so fucking sorry, I hate myself. They are waiting for us on the beach. I can see it's gonna be bad. Raph's pacing back and forth like a tiger behind glass, and Dom is still as a gum tree, arms folded over his chest. "Why would you take him down there?" Raph demands the second the Zodiac hits the sand. I realize he's talking to his sister, furious with her even as he helps her out of the boat. Orly is still within the circle of my arms. Dom wades into the sea and reaches for his son. Orly clings to his father as he's lifted easily out. I raise a leg over the side just as a wave hits us, and I'm sent into the ankle-deep water. The pain of the impact brings hot tears to my eyes. "Did you get the radio?" Raph is asking as I drag myself upright. "We didn't even go for it. Nothing happened," Fen says. "We saw a body," Orly shouts. He is halfway between terrified and excited. Then he says, a little more subdued, "He was all eaten." "Oh my God," Raph snaps. Dom places a calming hand on his eldest son's shoulder, while his gaze swivels to me. "I'm sorry," I say quickly. "Why would you take my children to a boat wreck?" he asks me, eerily calm. "Where you know there will be a dead person." "We took her, Dad," Fen says. "A 9-year-old and a teenage girl who's been through more than enough already," Dom says, ignoring his daughter. "What has she been through?" I ask him. "Why does she live alone in that shack, for God's sake?" "Don't, Dad," Fen says, and then walks a few paces away. "They seemed like they knew what to do," I say helplessly. "That it was simple, and I just was thinking about that radio. It didn't even occur to me that we would see him." I press palms into my closed eyes. I mean, they run wild around here. How am I meant to know what they can and can't do? The question falls into silence, sounding pathetic. The wind leaves me. I am shivering with cold, drenched through. Instead of making excuses, I say again, "I'm sorry." And I really messed up. Dom's eyes move to his children. "Are you okay?" he asks them. They nod, but they look pale, and I don't think their father is convinced. "Everyone up to the house," Dom says, then to Fen, "including you." Orly says he wants to walk with his brother and sister. Dom tells Raph to carry him if need be, and then he and I trudge over to the quad bike. I grip the seat and peer over my shoulder at the 3 figures behind us. It's late. The sun is starting to set, and I can feel something unraveling inside me. No radio to call for help. No boat on which to leave. No husband here, as he said he was, when he pleaded for me to come. No home to return to. Only ash. And I have killed a man, and left his body in the sun to be picked at. I have shown him to children, and altered the way they see the world. I am a tunnel. Wind screaming through me. And into this empty space comes a mad thought, unbidden. They have killed him, my husband. Dominic. I am conflicted as I turn off the bike and help Rowan climb off. Half of me despises her. For existing. For being here. For being any part of a stunt that might harm my children. The other half feels concern for her and a reluctant sympathy. She is shivering, her hands iced to the touch. I am aware of what Fen and Orly can be like. I can imagine exactly how they convinced her to go along with the plan, how they made it seem easy. Head inside and get warm. I tell Rowan, who seems distant and lost in her own thoughts. I wonder if she's thinking of Hank. And of the boat she couldn't reach, the radio she couldn't retrieve. I wonder what she thinks of us, this odd little family she has found herself trapped with, instead of the husband she came here to find. I will have to tell my kids who she really is. I will have to warn them that she's a liar. I'm not sure when or how to do this. I walk back to meet them on the hill track. The sky is charcoal and releases a spattering of rain. I hear the kids before I see them, their voices drifting up and around. They are talking about Claire. Raph and Fen are telling Orly what they remember. Things like she always had music on, every second of the day. Or she was really good at gymnastics, she showed us how to tumble and flip. Or she used to put oysters under her nose and pretend they were boogers. And though they do this often, he craves the details. It stops me in my tracks, because they are always things I'd forgotten, and there is something profound about being reminded that they had specific relationships of their own with her. My kids round the bend and fall quiet as they see me. Once, not long ago, I would have joined them easily. We were never apart, the four of us. Now I am a conversation killer, a mood deflator. Finn, I say, thinking to ask if she's all right, thinking no one should have to see a body spat out by the sea, or any dead body. I'll tell her I want to look after her, that she shouldn't be alone, that we will drink hot chocolate all crammed together on the couch like we used to, and that she will forget this. My 3 kids look at me, and something in me panics, and instead what comes out of my mouth is, I had no idea you could be so stupid. Her face falls. When she replies, I almost don't hear it. I'm sorry, she says, and in response to my callousness, Raph is no longer angry with his sister, but with me. He can't believe me, and I agree with him. I am an asshole. I look at Fen once more and think, my darling girl. It starts to rain in earnest as I lead the way home. I was not meant to have to do this part alone, the teenage part. I was changing her nappies yesterday, and today I am grappling with the reflection of my failures in her 2 wise eyes. I am trying to allow her to grow while simultaneously keeping her from drifting away. I want her to know life, its beauties and its complexities. I want her to take risks and make mistakes and know love as we all should. And yet those things feel too big, they are dwarfing us. She is just a baby and I really need my wife. Fen. As she follows her family up the hill in the rain, Fen thinks about bodies. The dead sailors, of course, and all the missing bits of him. She is surprised most about the disregard he's been shown. That sounds stupid in her own mind, but it's the word she can't shake. She has seen plenty of dead seals and always meets the sight with sadness and a sense of nature's disregard for fairness or dignity. A sense that the world shows no pity for animals. She sees the way they eat each other. Eat the worst bits of each other. Somehow she's imagined people to be exempt from that disregard. But she knows now that she was wrong. Thinking of Yen's body leads her to think of her mother, and to wonder if Claire was left in such a state. Was she peeled open and spilling before she was incinerated? Were her eyes open or closed? Did she look peaceful or monstrous? Were they careful with her or rough? She is crying silently as she walks. Fen feels too much, always bursting out of her body. If she was alive, would her mother's body look like Rowan's does now? Would they be the same age? She tries to work it out, sees again the way Rowan looked as they undressed her, as they warmed and stitched and bandaged her, and more privately, later, as Fen washed her under the shower, dried and clothed her once more. She has never been naked with another woman before. She's never seen another woman's body, except in movies. Fen feels so much tenderness for this poor, battered form. She feels, for the first time in her life, a connection to her own womanness. It felt right to gather up this body and try to care for it the way women have been caring for each other since the beginning. It made Fen feel more herself than she has in a long time, more of the woman she wants to become. There are other ways for bodies to be treated, but she does not want to think about these. At the lighthouse, they eat together at the table. A basic dinner of sausages, mash, and steamed greens. Rain lashes against the windows, and wind screams through tiny openings and under doorways. Fen sees her father watching Rowan. She sees the way he is unpicking her with his eyes. She knows he is shaken by her arrival. He doesn't like losing control, and this new person among them isn't controllable. After dinner, he disappears upstairs. He will be doing some chore, some repair job. It will be hours before he'll let himself stop. The pipes in the bathroom have been making weird noises lately, so probably that. Raph and Orly go into the living room to fold laundry and then work on their latest Lego project, which is just about the only form of entertainment they have these days, since all their books have been read a dozen times each and there is no longer any power for movies. Fen and Rowan clean up the kitchen and do the dishes. "Are you okay?" Fen asks. Rowan glances at her as she scrubs a pan. "Don't ask me that. I'm asking you that." "I'm fine. You're the one who knew him." "I didn't know him at all. I just spent a few days at sea with him." Rowan pauses, then murmurs, "I'll have to find his family when we get back." Fen knows how the people in that family are going to feel when someone says the words, "He didn't make it." That's what her dad said when he came to find them, dressed in surgical scrubs. She didn't make it. As though it had been a journey their mother had gone on, one she just couldn't make her way to the end of. Though she would have tried very hard, Fen knows that much about her mum. "Hey," Rowan says. "It's okay, I'm sorry." Fen wipes her tears quickly, embarrassed. God, she is always crying. "Why did you cut your hair off?" she asks. Rowan absently runs fingers over her shaved head, leaving trickles of soapy water to trail down the back of her neck. She grimaces and tries to shrug the drops away. "I wanted to feel lighter," she says. It is an answer Fen understands. Later, Fen goes upstairs to find Raph in his bedroom. He is sitting on the floor in the corner, mostly hidden behind the bed. She's in time to catch him shoving something under his legs. "What are you doing?" she asks. "Nothing." Fen flops onto his bed, propping her head on her hands. "How have you been charging that? Does Dad know?" Raph sighs and pulls out the phone he tried to hide. It's on and he shows her a quick flash of what he's been looking at. A photo of him and Alex. "Raffy," Fen says. Her brother turns the phone off and throws it hard into the wall. The phone cracks down the middle and falls with a thud onto the rug. "Hey," she says. "Can you play me something?" He shakes his head. He can't talk, really, when he's like this, though he doesn't talk much anyway. If he would just play his violin, Fen knows Raph would feel better, but he hasn't touched it since Alex. He rises with explosive power and mutters on his way past, "I'll get to the bag." And then he is gone, and she's failed him. To busy herself, to not think about how much she hates being in this building, Fen makes tea and hot chocolate for everyone and carries a cup up to her dad. She is about to knock on his door when she hears his voice from within. She knows from the low tone, the intimacy of it, that there's no one else in the room with him. She leans her forehead on the door and listens to the rumbling sound of his voice. She feels too old for her life, doesn't know how to save him from this. She will cry again if she keeps listening. So she knocks loudly and pushes in. "Cuppa," she says. "Thanks, darlin'." He's been standing at his wardrobe, looking at the precious things hidden within, talking to them. But he shuts the cupboard door quickly upon her intrusion. Fen is about to ask him if he's ever seen a dead body, wanting maybe to express to him what she felt today, the strangeness of it, and how it has imprinted like light on the backs of her eyelids, but then she remembers everything at once and feels like an idiot. "Raph's gone to the bag," she says instead. Dom breathes out heavily. "Righto, thanks." He takes his tea and pauses long enough to give her a quick kiss on the forehead, then heads up the stairs to find his son. Fen waits until his footsteps have disappeared and leaves the door wide so as to hear any approach. Then she crosses to Dom's wardrobe and opens it. In the top drawer, he keeps an array of items that once belonged to Claire. There are pieces of jewelry, trinkets or knickknacks that were sentimental to her, smaller items of clothing, like the silk scarf Claire's mother gave her when she was Fen's age, a bottle of her perfume, and several of her favorite books, which she'd annotated with her thoughts. Fen picks up one of these last, Claire's battered old copy of Jane Eyre. She opens the worn and yellowed pages to see words underlined in pencil and notes, scrawled in her mom's handwriting in the margins. It makes her ache to see this handwriting, to read the neat little thoughts. Dom has brought these items from the mainland. He collects more each time he goes back and visits Claire's parents. It has been 9 years since she died, but he is still collecting, still carrying things across an ocean, still hoarding them privately in this drawer. Fen feels hopeless when she sees these things, proof of her father's obsession, of his prison. These are what keep Claire alive, what bind her spirit here. Fen is sure of it. They are a prison for both her parents, so she slides Jane Eyre into the waistband of her jeans. She only ever takes one item at a time, so he won't notice. One day, when they're all gone, he will know, but by then it will be too late. Everyone is going to bed now. Rowan protests a lot, but Fen will sleep on the couch. She sits quietly as the others head upstairs, feeling the hard edges of the book pressed to her body. She watches the window, a long pane of curved glass that opens onto the headland. The sky is awash of dark clouds. Not a storm, exactly, but heavy rain. She won't be able to sleep on this couch, in this room. Not next to this window, because she is quite sure she's just seen someone walk past it. The terror this figure fills her with is profound. It drives her up and out into the night. Her windbreaker will have to be protection enough against the weather until she can make it to the boathouse. It's very cold as she descends the hill, though her stolen treasure sits warm against her spine and the little green lights dance ahead to show her the way. Raff. The heart of a whale is the heaviest on the planet. It is big enough for a human to swim through, and it is very slow. These are the things that occupy Raff's thoughts. He thinks of that weight and feels overwhelmed by it. In the communications building on the island, he keeps a hydrophone, a prized possession second only to his violin, which was a gift from his mother, and which, at the time, was too big for his little arms and hands to wield, but which he has grown into like a fifth limb. The hydrophone was from his dad for his 14th birthday, and he is aware that it cost a lot of money, and that his dad had to save up for it. He is aware that he loves it almost as much as the instrument, but without the entangled pain. When he can find enough time among chores and schoolwork, Raff sets up his waterproofing and dives beneath the surface of the ocean to capture whatever sounds he comes across. It is best in deep water because there is less noise pollution, and sound transmits better in cold water. The sounds aren't what he first imagined they'd be. They aren't what you hear in movies. There are no friction-based sounds, which can occur only when you add wind or sand or plants into the equation. But for Raff, this is the thrill, the discovery of the unexpected. And while he enjoys it all, from the bubbles of air popping on the surface to the swish of a nearby seal fin, what he wants more than anything, what gets him out here at the crack of dawn, even in freezing temperatures and miserably windy conditions that skew the sound results, is the possibility of hearing the song of a whale. He was born the day he first heard the song of a whale, and he has been finding ways to record them ever since. In one moment high and squeaking like the top note of a violin, in the next guttural echoing, some space between the moan of a cow and the trumpet of an elephant. Sometimes joyous and playful, sometimes mournful and searching, sometimes with a trill or a creak or a rumble, a question, a call, a love letter. After these lucky moments, and there have been only a few, he inevitably finds his way to the boxing bag, where he punches his body empty of the white-hot rage he feels at the thought of his mother not being here to experience the sound with him. What he is left with when that is punched out is loneliness, which is how he's feeling on the day he first meets Alex. He is in the comms building, up at the peak, and he is playing his fiddle over the top of the humpback music he recorded last month. The audio file floats from the shithouse laptop speaker. It's all he has. He has been trying to compose something that will complement the whale song, that will translate and magnify it, but everything he adds only distracts from it. He is growing frustrated by his ineptitude. A stray G sounds discordant to his ears, and he drops the bow, closing his eyes, letting the last notes reach their crescendo and fade out. He needs something more ambient, something to create atmosphere, not battle for the lead. "That was incredible," an American voice says. Raph opens his eyes and sees a young man. He is short, black, handsome. He wears round glasses, which look to Raph in this moment impossibly cool. "Sorry, I'll get out of your way," Raph says quickly, fumbling to pack up his violin and sound gear. "Hang on," the man says, the researcher, for that's undoubtedly what he is. "Can you play some more?" "More whale song." "Both, like you were just doing." Raph shakes his head. "I was just messing around." "I loved it," the man says simply, and that's how it starts. A soft unfurling, a discovery. His name is Alex, and he has come to study the fur seal population. His older brother Tom is here too, a meteorologist. Raph goes into the field with Alex and learns about the fur seals, about their extraordinary recovery from almost total annihilation. They take Fen with them when they tag the creatures, wrestling with the big bulls, and Raph is glad to see a friendship blossom between Alex and his sister too. Sometimes Raph takes Alex diving for whale song, and while they don't catch many whales, they do get other interesting sounds that, with Alex's encouragement, Raph works into his music. For the first time in years, he doesn't feel lonely. On the day they first kiss, Raph's heart does not speed up. Instead, it seems to slow right down. It beats so hard and so slow that he thinks of the whale heart, of the humpback and the enormity of that heart, of its chambers a person can walk through. Those days are long past. Alex is gone, and there is no slow. Raph can't touch his violin, hasn't reached for his hydrophone. Now there is only the bag for when he needs calm, and such moments are coming too often. He felt it as he paced the beach, waiting for his sister and brother to return, wondering if he'd lost them to the drift. He should have been there, keeping them safe. That she tried something so dangerous without him is terrifying. After, Raph tells himself over and over that they're safe, that nothing happened, that there's no need for this fury in his chest and his fists, but the swell of it is more powerful than any thought, and not even the photos of Alex are enough to calm him down. He takes the stairs 2 at a time, all 219 of them, winding stairs he knows well. He knows where muscles start to burn, and where the second burst of energy is needed. He knows the exact step at which to tell himself there aren't many to go, he's nearly there, and he knows that stopping to rest at any point is a mistake. It used to be called an observation deck, and maybe that's a better name. They just call it the light room, even though there's been no working light in it for a long time. Just a bag swinging eerily in the stray tendrils of wind that creep through the windows. Raph uses teeth to pull on his gloves, and as he sends blow after blow into the boxing bag, the pain builds within him until he is throwing everything into his punches, his whole life. He is letting things unravel. He should be holding his family together, as he has always done, but they only grow further apart, and he hates himself. He is useless. The only thing he can do is punch until he can feel nothing and is nothing. Dominic never intended on teaching Raph to box. Certainly not the way Dom's dad and granddad taught him, with bare fists and bloody knuckles and broken ribs and noses, and never a single day of rest. Dom even went pro for a few years until he met Claire, and gave it up cold turkey, but he always kept a bag hanging, a way to stay fit. He didn't need the bag, because Dom, unlike Raph, has no temper whatsoever. Raph would ask him, as a young kid, why he wasn't allowed to train with him, and Dom would say he didn't want Raph's childhood to be full of hitting things. Until one day Dom just changed his mind. He brought Raph up here to where the bag hung, and he made Raph punch until he could barely feel his arms anymore. Until he was liquefied, calm. Raph realized over time that they only ever came up here when he lost his temper. A broken glass, a kicked door, pages he was meant to read, torn in deepest frustration when he couldn't. Get to the bag, get it out of the body. And so there came, for Raph, a dawning awareness of a kind of peril within him, one his father had recognized far earlier and sought to subdue. "Dominic, I look in on my boys before I go to bed." Raph is rolled over to face the window, no doubt exhausted by his session with the bag, but Orly is huddled over a book lit by a single candle, trying to ignore the weather outside. He makes room for me to climb in next to him, relieved, probably, to have some company during the storm. "What are you reading?" I ask softly, not wanting to disturb Raph. He shows me the graphic novel and tells me a little about its story, but he seems distracted. "Nice," I murmur. "You can sleep, you know. I'll stay with you." "I'm not tired," he says. "Are you bothered by today?" No. He glances at me. Should I be? Things affect people in different ways. I wait for him to find the words to tell me what's wrong, or to decide he is sleepy after all. This morning, he says haltingly, before we went to the boat. Yeah. Rowan was asking me about Hank. My stomach plummets and I am back to despising her for putting him in that position. Then again, if we didn't have anything to hide, there wouldn't be an issue with it, I suppose. It feels like a game of chicken with her. One of us will have to break first and admit we know that something is wrong, that one of us is lying, or that we both are. What did she ask? If you and him were friends. I said no because you weren't, right? Even back at the start. Was that wrong? No, mate, it's fine. I pull him into me and open the pages of his comic. Don't waste another thought on it. I ask him to read to me, and while he does, I glance at his older brother to see that Raph is awake and watching us. His eyes meet mine, filled with the same sense of impending disaster. Orly, the buzzy burr at its heart, is a stowaway. The dandelion shows us how important plants and their seeds are to the animals around them, but the buzzy burr proves that the opposite can also be true. Many seeds rely on animals for their survival. This buzzy burr's story starts right here, on Shearwater. It's a flowering plant, and it looks pretty similar to a dandelion, actually, only its flower is less delicate, more wiry, and a dark purple color, while its seeds aren't attached to flying propellers that carry it on the wind. No, the buzzy burr's seeds are hooked like talons. They don't fly. They cling, they grab, and they particularly love to clutch onto feathers. This spiky little seed, you see, is a world traveler, or would like to be. And who better to hitch a ride with than the mighty wandering albatross itself? The buzzy burr seed, compelled to spread, to propagate, to live on, grabs onto the albatross with its hooks, and one day, when the albatross is ready to leave its chick, it lifts into the air with its impossibly wide wings, wider than any other bird's, and it sets off on an immense journey around the south of the globe. This albatross doesn't just circle the globe once, carrying the seed and showing it long stretches of ocean, showing it the world. No, it circles the globe 3 times in a single year. Only on this third trip around does the albatross set down on the coast of Argentina, in the Alpine Reserve among its glaciers and fjords, and deposit the seed into its new home. Maybe the albatross knows it carried this little life across continents, across oceans. Maybe its long flight this year was to show the seed as much as it could. Maybe now it says, "Live well, little flower," as it lifts back into the air on its wide and snowy wings. Maybe the seed says thank you as it watches the bird fly away. Rowan. I don't like being in the house alone with Dominic. He is so quiet. The man I lived with for a decade never stopped talking. I grew used to the constant sound of Hank's voice as a steady hum in the background of whatever I was doing, without much need for me to reply. This silence, with only the wind to pierce it, makes me almost long for the loathsome noise of a TV. I ask Dom what I can do to help out, but he tells me to rest and then doesn't speak to me again. I find some cleaning supplies in a cupboard and clean the bathroom, which takes all of half an hour, and then I am stumped. I am directionless. Pulled to a painful halt, the momentum I had in getting to Shearwater stalled. With no hope of rescue or escape, I don't know what to do. The dining table needs some attention. At least that is something I am capable of. Under the chipped white paint on its surface, I can see that it's actually a rather lovely piece of old Tasmanian oak. Whoever painted it should be sent to prison. I raid Dom's tool trolley for a few different grades of sandpaper, some turpentine and some tung oil. I can't find any paint stripper, so I start with a coarse 80 grit sandpaper, knowing this will not be an easy task without a power sander, but happy to have something to concentrate on for the next few hours. The paint is so old it chips away easily in most places, especially when I use a metal scraper, but it's harder to work free in others. I am careful not to apply so much pressure that I damage the wood beneath. The movements of my arm are so familiar to me, the scent of the fine wood dust so visceral that I feel, for these moments in time, unburdened. By memory, by responsibility, by loss, the way it's always been. A home place working with wood like this. When the paint is gone, my shoulder and arm are aching, but even this is comforting. I clean the table, then take a medium grit sandpaper to it, working carefully and consistently. It's a simple piece of furniture, there aren't any curves or grooves for me to worry about, no delicate detailing or carving, so it doesn't take too long before I can move on to the finer sandpaper. The smell again, God, the calm it brings me. But I come all too soon to the end of what I can do today. Once I have wiped the table down thoroughly and applied a coat of the tung oil, I have to leave it to dry overnight before I can do any further sanding and coating. I stand back and look at the table. The pale timber is gorgeous with its intricate white grain. I force myself to leave it, and then I am back where I started, with too many hours left to fill. It strikes me that I haven't seen the kid all day, and, despite having wished he'd leave me the hell alone, I miss him. I also want to check that he's okay after yesterday. I find him in a fourth bedroom I haven't yet explored. A study. There are 3 small desks crammed awkwardly against the curved walls, and here's the tech I wondered about. Each desk has a computer connected to speakers, and there is also a phone sitting on a tripod, its camera aimed at a desk. Orly isn't using any of it. He has a pencil and workbook. Spread before him are dried plants, flowers, and grasses. He's pressed between the pages of a book and is now drawing. "I thought you were on holidays," I say as I enter the room. "Summer homework," he says. "What's this for?" I touch the phone on the tripod. "Our distance ed classes. During term, we had to video call in once a week, and there were a bunch of presentations we had to film and send. They're all dead now, batteries are done." I nod, wandering the room idly. Orly watches me. In glances I try to ascertain if he seems bothered at all by having seen a dead body. "Want to do something?" I ask. "Like what?" "Anything. Show me something I won't see anywhere else in the world. I'm meant to be doing my work." "You're on holidays. Take a break, kid. If your dad asks, you can blame me." Dom already hates me. "It's pretty self-serving of you to distract me from my education purely because you're bored, Rowan," Orly says. "Oh." I am crestfallen. He laughs. "Just kidding. Let's go." "So what's going on with your dad and your sister?" I ask as we walk. We are headed, not down the hill to the Pinch and the beach, but inland, into the mountainous center of the southern island. I told Orly I couldn't manage any extreme hiking or climbing, which means this relatively easy walk is our only option. He doesn't seem eager to answer my question. "I don't know," he says. Eventually he adds, "They disagree on a lot of things." I am starting to worry about Fen. I don't think Dom should just be letting her live in the boathouse, on her own. Something's happened, but it's clear they don't want me to know about it, and it's far from my place to get involved. Orly leads me up a small incline and tells me to lie down on my tummy and crawl to the edge. Grasses tickle my face as I awkwardly commando forward. After a few centimeters of this, it's too painful, and I have to sit up and edge forward on my bum. The ground drops away before us, a series of sweeping hills and valleys. Orly points to the hill directly to our right, its slope intersecting with ours to give us a perfect view of what sits among its silvery grasses. It's an albatross, close enough that I can see the soft, snowy plumage of its neck and face and head, the speckled gray on its wings, its pink, hooked bill and dark eyes. It is sitting on a nest, I think, and it's huge. I have seen David Attenborough, I know what they look like. But I could never imagine the majesty of them so close. The true size of this bird is dazzling. "Is this the one you told me about?" I ask softly. "With the seed?" Orly smiles. "Maybe." "That's Ari. She's got an egg under there. Nikao is at sea. He'll be back sometime soon to take over on the nest. The moment is so peaceful that I could lie down and stay here with her forever. I feel all the restless, panicked threads of me calm. Did you know they spend most of their lives in the air?" Orly says. "They can glide without flapping for hours at a time. I imagine this easy, lazy flight. I saw it on that first walk down to the beach. I sat in the tussock and watched Ari, or maybe it was Nikao, soaring almost motionless through the air, so different from the other birds that it's impossible not to recognize. The wind picks up a little, and I lift the hood on my windbreaker, Dom's windbreaker. Orly doesn't have a hood today, and his long, pale hair is whipping around, getting in his face. I gently comb the threads with my fingers and start braiding it tightly. I haven't done this since my sisters were little, but my hands remember it well. While I braid, Orly tells me more about the wandering albatross. He explains how they only lay an egg every 2 years, and how the last time Ari and Nikao did this for her senior biology project, Fen tracked and studied the process, from laying the egg and then incubating it for 11 weeks, to the egg hatching and then the growth of the chick. She set up a camera that recorded the chick, named Tui, for the months he sat in that nest, waiting for his parents to return and feed him. They watched as he practiced building his own nest by collecting mud and vegetation into a mound, and they were here when Tui finally took to the sky. Orly says his sister sobbed, knowing she would probably never see the bird again, but also knowing this was a triumph, that he'd made it to maturity when not all chicks did. They are old, Ari and Nikao, nearly 50 years old, and they don't have many more breeding years in them. We might see this egg hatch, Orly says, before we leave. I hope so. I finish Orly's hair, but neither of us moves. Instead, he leans back into me, and together we watch Ari tilt her head and lift her beak into the sky. We watch her spread her extraordinary wings as though to show us her beauty. "This you're doing?" Dom greets me. He's standing by the sink, gesturing to the dining table. There is a brilliant pink and mauve sunset tonight, as Orly and I get ready to brave the walk down the hill. We plan to join his brother and sister on the inky sand of the beach. I nod. Why? I don't know if Dom's pissed off, but he is studying me closely, trying to work me out. He certainly doesn't seem pleased. It was a travesty, I say, and it'll need a few more days of work before you can use it. So where are we meant to eat? On the couch, like normal people. This irritates him, and I try not to smile. Come down to the beach with us. Orly begs his dad. Dom drags his eyes from me long enough to tell his son, "Can't, mate, I got things to get done around here." I see Orly's shoulders slump, and I wish his dad could see it too. By the time we reach the pinch, Raph and Fen have already made a fire of driftwood. The world outside these flames disappears into shadow. But I can hear the constant snorts and scuffles of the seals, hundreds of them all around us. Fen uses a blade to cut open the rubbery orange kelp, the texture and look of which makes my skin crawl. It is so alien. And then she places a fish inside it and puts the package on the fire to cook. "You feeling okay today?" I ask Fen while the boys practice boxing moves by the water. She nods. Raph is about 4 times the size of his little brother, and he is laughing as Orly faints and weaves around him, his feet moving in swift dance steps, a twirl here, a pirouette there. I'm picturing it a lot, she admits. Me too. You're 17, right? Yeah. And you've been here since you were 9? She nods. We've been back to the mainland a couple of times to go to the doctor or the dentist, but that's it. That's, I shake my head. Crazy, she shrugs. I guess. Do you like it here, or would you prefer to be in the real world? This is real, she says, and leaves it at that. A while later she asks, "Do you have kids?" I shake my head. How old are you? 40. Then how come you don't have any? I don't want any. Why not? Fen, I laugh. Sorry, she says quickly. Was that impolite? I have nightmares about getting back to the mainland and offending everyone because I don't know how to talk to people. I shake my head. You're fine. You'll be fine. We are quiet a moment, and I think about her question. The world's not a good place for a child. She frowns. That's not true. Look around. I do, and wonder what she can see that I can't. What I can see is an ocean rising so swiftly that this extraordinary island, this home, will be gone in the blink of an eye. A place so unsafe that most of its occupants have already fled. I meet Fen's gaze. She is all the hope and wonder and optimism of youth, and that's good, I guess. Maybe she should try to hold on to that for as long as possible, until the world and other people take it from her. But I find myself wanting to warn her of what I wish I'd known. It's not a good idea to fall in love, okay? I say softly. Not with people and not with places. Fen looks surprised by this. I loved a landscape and watched it burn, I say. This island, you can see what it will look like. There's a film over everything. You can see it disappearing. There's no stable ground. Not here. Not anywhere else. And you'd want to try and survive all of that on your own? She asks. What that instability does to relationships, what constant danger does to them, is devastating. It's unraveling. I can see she doesn't believe me, but I don't push the point. She will see, one day. Loving a place is the same as having a child. They are both too much an act of hope, of defiance, and those are a fool's weapons. Your dad, I say, he's pretty tough, huh? Fen nods. What's his deal? Like, why is he so strict? I mean, I guess he is and he isn't. He has strict routines for his kids, he works them hard, but he also lets them roam. He lets Fen live down here. It's a contradiction, but rather than trying to articulate this, I just say, yeah. It's not easy to raise 3 kids alone on an island, Fen says. So why is he doing it? He was pretty messed up when Mom died. I think he wanted to be somewhere he felt he could contain things. He made it so hard for himself. Well, he had me and Raph. We helped with Orly a lot. And we had systems, you know. You all just have to stick to the systems and things hang together. Sounds boring, she smiles. It is. Is that why you're down here now? Is this your youthful rebellion, running away from home? It's not much of a rebellion, right? It's pretty good, given the circumstances. What was yours? God, it feels like a long time ago. I didn't really have one, I don't think. I couldn't. I was too busy looking after my sisters. Oh. Any rebellion I had was just this quiet anger, always swallowed down. Who were you angry with? I recall those painful years, feeling either invisible to her or hated by her. My mom, I say. Fen's head tilts to the side. I don't know much about that. But this stuff going on with your dad, it's all the same. Parents, trying to impress them or enrage them. She is quiet for a moment, and then she says, I know Dad loves me. I just don't know if he can see me. Raph and Orly tumble down beside us, and we eat the fish with our fingers. It falls apart, moist and rich and full of flavor, and the sky is enormous and pricked with stars. And I think it is an astounding life he has brought them here to live. And a lonely one. I walk the boys back up to the lighthouse, and it seems wrong to be leaving Fen on her own. I can see that it pains Raph too, but he doesn't say anything, and so neither do I. When it's just the 3 of us, struggling our way up the hill in the dark, he says she'll go to the boathouse. She's not allowed to sleep outside, which makes me feel a little better. It's the first time I make the walk up the hill. So far I've had the quad bike to carry me, but tonight Raph doesn't offer it, and I don't ask. I just take one plodding step after another. And with each of these steps I feel a sense of achievement. It hurts, and I can barely breathe, but I'm going to make it. It's not going to kill me. Because it's late and Orly is tired, Raph carries him the last part of the journey, and then up the lighthouse steps, and I watch from their bedroom doorway as he settles his little brother into his own bed. He sleeps better when he has company, Raph explains, though I didn't ask. I am well acquainted with Orly needing a bed buddy. Night, Raph adds, dismissing me, and I make my way carefully up a few more stairs to Fen's room. It's dark, and I don't bother turning on a light, I just unbutton my jeans, intending to fall into bed. A voice clears its throat and says, Sorry. I jump halfway out of my skin. Sorry, Dom says again, but he doesn't sound it. It annoys me. I don't like feeling as though he could enter my space whenever he wants. You don't need to sit by my bed anymore, okay? I say. I'm alive. You want to talk to me, you knock. He nods, an acknowledgement. As my heart slows, I sink onto the end of the bed. He is mostly in shadow. There is something coming, he is building to it. An admonishment for distracting Orly from his schoolwork today, maybe. Something about the dining table, he says. We had Raph and Fen quite young. I wait, unsure if he expects me to answer. We didn't want to waste time. Life seems so short. It is, I guess, I murmur. It doesn't feel that way anymore, Dom says. It feels very long. You lost a partner. He looks at me and I am surprised to see something gentle come into his face. I learned how to be a parent from her. I watched her with Raph and Fen, so I knew what I had to do when Orly came. I don't mean to say I did well or that I was good at it, but she'd shown me the way and there isn't a minute I'm not grateful for that. Okay, I am nervous about what he's trying to say. I know what a spouse becomes. A whole world. So much a part of your life you couldn't untangle yourself from them even if you wanted to. I would have done anything for her. He gets something out of his pocket. unfolds it. I know what it is without looking. You didn't have to lie, Dominic says, handing me the photo of Hank. I understand. You're the wife. You came here to find him. My eyes move from the picture to his face in shadow. I try to think through what this means. There are some things I still need to hold close to my chest. There are others to which I intend on getting answers. So where is he, Dom? I told you, Rowan. He left. They all did. He was asked to sort those seeds, and you're telling me he left without finishing the job? He did finish it. He left us instructions. We're just moving boxes. I study his face, searching for truth or lie, but I can't read him. The words have a ring of believability. Except, why didn't he tell me? Why not let me know he was on his way home? I don't know. You'll have to ask him when you see him. There is silence as I process that. The thought that his absence and my presence could be just one big, ridiculous miscommunication is painful. The thought that this miscommunication has resulted in a man's death is worse. I don't know why Hank would get on that boat without sending me an email to tell me he was coming home, to tell me to disregard his last messages, unless he wasn't coming home but going elsewhere, leaving me for good. He didn't seem well, Dom adds more carefully. In the end, he seemed burdened. In what way? I don't know. He was doing a difficult thing. Burdened. Hank is the most self-confident person I have ever known. He is arrogant, single-minded, certainly. Could that have turned to something else? Obsession? This place, Dom says as though reading my mind. It's extreme isolation, Rowan. You don't understand it yet, but it takes a very real toll. Then he says, what I don't get is why you felt you had to come all this way to see him. It's the heat of the water and the steam within the shower. I am sitting beneath the downpour, feeling the burn on my cheeks, and then I am returned, speeding along the bubbling bitumen of the road, trying to outrun roaring flames beneath a sky so red. Beside us I watch the running shapes of 3 horses, swallowed by a cloud of smoke. Rowan, my sister. She is turning off the shower and helping me upright, wrapping me in a towel. Jesus, you've cooked yourself, she mutters, of my bright pink skin. Sorry, I say. There is still so much steam. I'm fine. Rowan, you can't. I'm fine, I repeat, meeting her eyes. She is scared. I see this fear in her face whenever she looks at me. She has never known me like this. To live, I have always been rock solid, the most reliable thing she has ever known. I made myself this way, for her and for our sister Jay. I had to carry them. And now I am unraveled, and she's frightened, and I don't know how to tie my pieces back together. I have lost too much and am too much lost. When I can convince Liv I'm not a threat to myself and shuffle her out of the bathroom, I get dressed and return to my bed. After the fire, nearly a whole year ago now, Hank went to Shearwater and I, with nowhere else to go, came here to Liv's spare bedroom, which, in a month, will be a baby's room. I open my sister's old laptop, and the emails are waiting for me at the top of my inbox, 3 of them. When Hank first got to Shearwater, he would tell me at length about his colleagues on the island and what they studied and how the base worked. Though he was there to study the ecology of the island, he also liked to go south and visit the vault and learn about the seeds stored there. He would talk about the specimens, about the nature of the vault itself and how extraordinary it was that it boasted such diversity. He told me of the weather on the island, the storms, the rain, and the wind. He said the wind was alive in a way it isn't elsewhere. He said he'd met a boy who spoke to it. Hank's life was full. It was rich. In the wake of our loss, he had found purpose. He was thriving. My life was the opposite. I am dispassionate about everything, barely able to find a reason to get up in the morning, alive with envy for Hank's purpose and his passion, which now evade me completely. Then things with Hank changed. He told me the seed vault was being shut down. He said the island was too hazardous, weather events getting worse, sea levels rising with alarming speed. So the seeds were being moved off island to a much smaller vault. The UN was streamlining funds into identifying and storing only the seeds needed to feed humanity. There were fires and floods. There were wars, diseases, food shortages. They were going to need to feed people. As the only botanist already working on shearwater, Hank was asked to make these decisions, to do the sorting, to choose what would have a place in this new vault and what would be left on the island to gradually be surrendered to the sea. He told me it was utter stupidity, short-sighted linear thinking. The world, he tried to explain to his bosses and also to me on the other end of the video call, needed biodiversity more than it needed any other thing. And he said this as though we didn't already know it, except that we all did. And still, he had to decide on half, which means that when the fires rage and the seas swallow and the bombs destroy, there will be no backups for the thousands and thousands of lost species. No way to replant. They will simply be gone forever. At this point, Hank stopped video calling me and switched to email, and these emails read differently. They were short, erratic, full of errors. They changed subject mid-sentence. I could see him spiraling on the page, but I couldn't get through to him. I tried to get in touch with his colleagues to check if he was all right, but no one would get back to me. And now. Finally, today, he has sent me 3 emails. The first is this: I need help. It's not safe here for me anymore. And then this: they don't understand what I'm trying to do. They fear what I have realized, and they fear me for knowing it. And then this: I am in danger. Send help. I don't sleep. I let the words turn over in my mind. I let them stir some dormant part of me. A little after dawn, I stumble into the kitchen, startling Liv, who is not used to seeing me at this hour. She's drinking coffee in her dressing gown, which is barely closed over her enormous 8-month pregnant belly. God, you look. I am aware that I must look deranged. I put the laptop in front of her, open to the first email. What is this? It's from Hank. These 3. Read them. She frowns as she does so, then looks up at me. This is Jesus. He doesn't sound well. No. Should you call the police? The police? What the hell are they gonna do? He's thousands of kilometers across an ocean. Well, what about his colleagues out there? Nobody's getting back to me. So we just stay calm, okay? She reads the emails again. I start making myself a coffee with trembling hands. We'll go through the right channels, Liv is saying, but I'm barely listening. I am vibrating. My mind is working with a clarity it hasn't known in a year, making swift plans. I feel woken from a dream. Rowan. I look at my sister. Don't do anything stupid, okay? She says. But the answer is simple. He's my husband, I say, and he needs my help. And so, I should have waited. Pursued other avenues first. But the messages did something to me. They brought me back to life. Raf is up early and walks the hill track to find his sister. She is on the beach, as always. He wonders at the kind of person you'd have to be to hate shelter, to want only exposure. The same, he supposes, as someone who has to punch and punch and punch. Longing takes on different forms. Fen is using a thick chunk of driftwood to mark the height of the high tide. The seals are farther down the beach, honking and barking and bleeding. He can't spot any penguins today, but the shags on their rock are like a dark cloud, rising and falling. Fen waves to him and waits for him to reach her. Higher again, he asks. Higher again. Soon there won't be a beach here at all. They go to her little campsite, and he takes out the container of food he's brought. Last night's leftovers, unheated. He stokes the campfire, searching for coals, but Fen doesn't bother heating up the cold steak. She eats it with her hands, juices running down her chin like the wild animal she is becoming. Though truthfully, she has always been a bit fey, a bit other. He flicks her forehead. Savage. Fen smiles. Come back with me. I can't, Raffi. He does not understand why. Not truly. He knows she has been frightened badly, and he knows his dad is not a man capable of acknowledging fear, except to tell them to get it out of the body, to physically force it away, which is not how Fen copes, and so she has come down here to be alone with the animals in the ocean. Raf misses her as he would a limb cut off. That's how they've spent most of their lives, joined heart and mind. He is scared of what leaving this island will do to that connection, But maybe that's stupid. It existed before they came here. They spot Dominic and Orly headed down the hill, just two little shapes in the distance, a wide gray sky at their backs. After a while, the larger of the two swings the smaller one up onto his shoulders. How will either of them survive on the mainland? Fen says, not really a question. None of them, Raph included, know how to imagine another life. Still, he thinks, Fen needs people her own age. Raph wants for her the things he was lucky enough to have found, by some miracle, with Alex. He wants her to forget Shearwater. He knows, as his dad does, that he's failed to protect her, that he got wrapped up with Alex and forgot to look after his sister. He wakes in a cold sweat sometimes, thinking about this, hating himself. But she is still here. He doesn't want to leave, Raph says, of Dominic. Fen frowns. Don't we have to? What would you want, if you had the choice? He watches his sister contemplate this. She is looking at the seals farther down the beach. When I think about leaving, she says, I almost can't breathe. But staying here is killing us. So it's shit either way, Fen smiles. We'll be okay. They'll be somewhere else. But will there ever be, he thinks, another home for the four of them to share? The second they leave Shearwater, Fen, who is younger than Raph but who has finished school years ahead of him, is going to leave them to start her new life, and Raph doesn't know what he can do to stop this. It has always been his job to keep them together, to keep them strong. What if Dad won't go, he asks. We have to make him, Fen says. That's all well and good, but there's no making Dominic Salt do anything he doesn't want to do. Stubborn is too small a word for what he is. I know you're sure that leaving Shearwater will fix the problem, Raph says, the problem being their mother. But what if she just goes with him? Given that Claire is not an actual ghost, but their father's grief and loneliness made manifest, this seems likely to Raph. Fen looks at her brother, shakes her head. No, Shearwater is a bridge. He is impressed by her certainty, but then she's always been this way, sure of things, sure of herself. She has a pure and simple belief that there are ghosts on this island. Orly's the same. He doesn't know what goes on in his dad's head, but he's heard Dom talking to thin air. Sometimes Raph feels like the only sane person here. Orly arrives first, barreling into Raph so their bodies go down in a tangle. Raph laughs as his brother tries to pin him. Fen comes to his aid, wrestling Orly onto the sand, tickling the boy mercilessly. All three stop and brush themselves off when Dom arrives. He looks very serious this morning. What, Raph thinks warily, has gone wrong now? I've learned something about our guest, he says calmly. It seems to take him forever to go on. She's Hank's wife. Fen looks startled, and it reminds Raph of how their dad always says this expression is their mother's. Claire wore a look of perpetual surprise. Raph doesn't remember that, but he remembers his mum's hands very well, the neatly manicured half-moon nails, and the slender length of her fingers, even the smell of the hand cream she used to wear. He thinks of this, right now, in this moment, as a way of not spiraling into panic. Why is she here, he asks. She's come looking for Hank, I don't know why. Fen sinks to the ground and rests her head in her hands. Oh my God! It's all right, Dom says. It doesn't matter, we carry on. What if? All we need to do, he says, is keep our mouths shut. Raph marvels at his dad's even keel. He is always even, always calm. Raph knows, in this moment, the way he sometimes knows what his sister is thinking, that Fen is imagining the same thing he is. That sudden, calm violence Dominic Salt is capable of, and the damage it can do.